Feeling of being able to breathe out of both of my nostrils will never get old. Come in, gather round, everyone. Seat yourselves. I will begin by warning you that yes, the chat and alerts will not be on screen. Okay, we are getting into a lot of stuff. We are going to be diving down a very insane rabbit hole, and we have a lot to cover today. So, never mind, the chat is on screen. I lied. Let me try that again. But I'll still be reading it. I've still got Restream playing all of the YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch comments. I will still obviously have access to all of the super chats, which I'm very likely to still end up reading. But I just got to stay on topic today because, like I said, we are going down such an absolutely insane rabbit hole. During this stream, you will see the Dadvocate literally become the Charlie Kelly meme pointing at the cork board and red string going all over it and like absolutely frazzled. This is my white whale. Okay, this cheating coven, this cult of side pieces has had my fixation, and it has just become my duty to truly cover it all in a way that is digestible, in a way that truly pulls back the curtain, unlike I think probably any other creator is doing on this topic at the moment, probably because they are not as crazy as me to get so deep into these pools, but I'm in it. My hooks are sunken in. There's no pulling back now. Plus, I got cease and desisted over this. So, when your involvement in something leads to your very first cease and desist, which we may just have time to cover on the stream today, I did print it off. See, I had to print it off because it wasn't actually mailed to me in any kind of certified way. They just emailed me, but it is one of the funniest things that I own, quite frankly. So I might have to show this one off. First, though, I'm going to take you on a journey through all of the lore. If you have no idea what I'm about to be talking about today, if you've never heard of this affair coaching business or its surrounding lawsuit, I will very quickly be able to catch you all up. As you can see behind me, I have indeed prepared an entire infographic for today. So while my streams are usually just audio only friendly, there will be some visual cues that I would absolutely recommend viewing. We'll definitely be reacting to quite a lot of visual things in this breakdown, update, and eventual summarization of what I believe will ultimately end up happening with this lawsuit. But first, some legalese. Everything that I'm going to be covering today is my opinion, my interpretation, my own conspiracies. None of this is anything, I guess basically everything that I'm saying is based off of publicly accessible information and the inferences and opinions that I find upon seeing these things. The lawsuit itself, also publicly accessible, and I'm going to quickly show you guys the fastest way to view the lawsuit. So the best way to view the lawsuit, in my opinion, is by going here to KRISTEN'S GoFundMe. You'll find out who Kristen is very soon, but she is the betrayed spouse in the middle of the lawsuit with this affair coaching business. And if you go to this GoFundMe that says, "Help Kristen stand against online harassment for profit," there's a brief description of what's going on, and I will also be going over the infographic chart that I made. You can click this little link here that's going to take you to the Miami County, Ohio website where this lawsuit was filed out of. You're going to tell them that you are not a robot. And then you can quickly find this by, oh, there it is. Looks like someone's been busy. You just type in "The Other Woman and the Wife, LLC." because that is the name of this affair coaching business. And from there, you can go ahead and catch up. There have been some new filings since my last video on that, so we are going to talk about everything that has happened there, all of the updates and what have you. But if you are totally lost here and you have no idea what I'm talking about, let's just jump right in to the infographic. Okay? I'm going to do a little bit of infographing and then a little bit other videos that I've prepared for you. So come along with me. I think I'll leave you right here, microphone. All right. Let's make sure we can all see the infographic. Okay. So our story begins with a woman here named Chelsea. Everybody can see Chelsea here. Chelsea was married at the time to her first husband. When she met, let me get a little marker here. All right. Here's Chelsea. She's married. Chelsea starts working with a man named Stan, who is married and has children with his wife in China. But that does not stop Stan and Chelsea from starting a several years long affair. Now, Chelsea decided that after maybe about 3 months of her affair, she was just going to finally break up with her dude. So he's gone. So now she's still boning Stan, but Stan is still going to remain married to his wife for 5 years. He is going to cheat on his wife for half a decade of lying, gaslighting, duplicitous nature, living a complete double life with the old queen granny side piece here. Eventually, though, Stan's wife discovers the affair and decides to end it with Stan. So Stan, being the great father that he is, and obviously the all-star Chad worth ruining your marriage over, Stan decides to just leave his wife and kids in China and move to America and accept his consolation prize, that is Chelsea. Okay? So these kids, their wife just left behind in a different country, and now we're in America, where Chelsea is living her happily ever after with her cheater husband that she bagged. And you would think that this is a great time to move on, right? Like you would think, okay, you've had your affair. Maybe we're not very proud of it, but you've got your new relationship now. Surely we just move on, enjoy our lives. But no. Because why would you do that when you can just make your entire personality being about the extremely long affair that you both had? So this is when Chelsea decides that she's going to become a content creator called The Other Woman and the Wife. The cute little title there implying that not only is she the other woman, but now she's the wife. And her idea was to kind of reach out to other women and not just, create content. She decided she was going to turn this into a whole business. So now The Other Woman and the Wife LLC exists as an actual business where you can go join a private community of other cheaters and side pieces, and basically, in my opinion, from what I have seen of her public social media pages, basically you're just paying to have people validate the shit out of your absolutely terrible decisions, as well as equip you with very well-versed mental gymnastics level gaslighting techniques so that you can also try to convince other people that the affair that you're having is actually not a big deal. In fact, what would you do if I told you that, in fact, calling a cheater is emotional violence? What would you do if I told you that? I ask because that's what we're dealing with here. Let me give you a little peek of Chelsea content, okay? This is an example of the other woman and the wife's TikTok page, okay? Here you can see that she is responding to a comment that says, "This cheater sounds very self-absorbed. Almost no acknowledgement of the betrayal and damage done by cheating." Okay, so what I really like about this video in particular is that it's one of the greatest summaries of Chelsea's character, and also what you can come to predict from like any Chelsea video is she's usually going to react to like a very normal opinion, like just regular people saying things like, "Man, cheating sure is hurtful and cheating is bad," and she'll respond to it with this like really self-satisfied smirk and this unwarranted, unwavering self-confidence that you really only find in deeply delusional narcissists. It's the Saturday Night Live character that everyone always hates, and she plays it so well. So this is how she's gonna react to this very normal comment. There it is. She's going to take a deep inhale as though this comment is literally the stupidest thing she's ever read in her life. And then she's going to give you that self-satisfied smirk like, oh, she's about to wreck you. She is about to absolutely destroy your life with her brilliance and wit. Let's see what comes out of her pie hole.
Let's talk about labels for a moment. When someone calls another person a self-absorbed cheater, I have to wonder, what's really happening here?
What's really happening here? They're calling you out for what you are, is what's happening here. But she's clearly written a script, likely with the help of ChatGPT and possibly the new age bullshit generator. So she's gonna keep reading off that script. Let's see what else she has to say about this.
Reducing an entire human being to a single action or moment in their life is not just reductionist, it's a form of emotional violence.
What? Calling a cheater is now emotional violence. This is like a new level of martyrdom that I did not even know could be unlocked. I can't believe we're here. Wow, you somehow made helping a man cheat on his wife for 5 years while you also were cheating on your husband a situation that you're the victim of. Incredible. Let's let her finish.
People are complex, multidimensional beings whose lives can't be defined by their mistakes or lowest moments. What's particularly problematic is judging someone as self-absorbed based on carefully curated social media content.
So here she's saying that it's incredibly problematic for anyone to call Chelsea self-absorbed when her media is so carefully curated. Almost, it's like she's saying the same thing and she thinks she's saying something completely different. What does a person have to be to even care about carefully curating their image? Follow along with me now. What does a person have to be, if not in some way self-absorbed? Let me read a couple super chats real quick before I forget. Corey, thank you so much for the 5. Says, "I like you, Lauren. You're a rational person that can be friends with someone even if they have a different opinion than you. Continue doing God's work." Thank you. I really do try to have this page and platform be a place that like all denominations and sides of the aisle can kind of collectively come together on certain things. You know, I try to be that middle ground, which is funny. We'll talk about that later. Zomji, so good to see you. You read my mail and responded. Thank you. And I apologize again. A little something for the kitchen, laundry. You break too many stuff. Hard to keep track. You should frame the S&D. I will say TJ has fixed the dryer. The washer and dryer are officially back in repair thanks to TJ. So I just had to, we got shout out TJ. Everybody spam the tripod emoji real quick. Okay, thank you for letting me respond to those. I didn't want you guys to feel super excluded. I don't even know if I want to finish this video. And I've got one more other video that is just Chelsea defining so that you guys really know what we get into before we even get into how she ends up getting sued.
Social media, by its very nature, offers glimpses, not the whole picture. We see what people choose to share, often representing a fraction of their journey, thoughts, and experiences.
Yeah, we all get that.
When you label someone as self-absorbed based on social media, you're not actually evaluating their character.
Right. It's not. This is crazy. So she's basically saying, like, you are not allowed to comment on anything that you see on social media unless it is a full-blown psychological evaluation. Otherwise, keep your opinions to yourself. What is she even waffling on about?
You're revealing what you've decided to look for. It's confirmation bias at work.
So she's saying the only reason that we think that she's a self-absorbed cheater is because we showed up to the internet wanting to find a self-absorbed cheater. That we actually made her this way. Okay? We somehow tricked her into cheating on her husband so that we could have somebody to insult. What are you talking about?
If you approach content looking for selfishness, guess what? That's exactly what you'll find.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I wouldn't think that someone who duplicitously lies to their spouse, who they have caged in a prison of monogamy that they themselves are not reciprocating, so that they can selfishly have multiple partners that are contributing to them financially, emotionally, and physically while completely being dishonest with at least one of them. I would have not thought that person was selfish ordinarily. Like, if I wasn't just in the mood to find selfish people, I would never find that selfish. But, you know, it's on me for being in the mood to label people selfish, I guess. Ordinarily, though, I would say that cheating is a pretty selfless behavior. You know what I mean? Like, there's a loneliness epidemic, okay? So, like, it's actually very kind of her to spread her punani to as many willing recipients as possible. She's just trying to cure the loneliness epidemic. Honestly, she is such a hero.
Standing in your truth is not self-absorption. It's
she's not being self-absorbed. She's just standing in her truth. Can we all just agree, by the way, like, if we had, like, a new age hippie bullshit bingo card, God, would that be, like, the free space is my truth. I hate that my truth bullshit. You have your opinion, your perspective, your understanding, right? But there is only the truth, bitch. Like, come on now.
self-awareness. Self-awareness requires courage to look honestly at yourself, your choices, and your patterns.
Guys, don't you see? Cheating requires courage. How dare you blast these brave married women who sleep with their coworkers as being self-absorbed and committing this violence by calling them a cheater, when in reality, they're just stronger and braver than you, and you're jealous. Is my stream using the wrong mic? Hold on. Sorry, I just have it pointing the other way. That was my bad. Does that sound better now? Thank you, Derek. Thank you for the super chat and bringing me aware of the audio. Let me fix that for you a little bit.
The journey through complex relationships often involves pain for all involved. Acknowledging this doesn't mean endless self-flagellation in public. Healing requires moving beyond shame towards understanding for everyone involved. When we rush to judgment...
Okay, I can't take any more of this. You get it? And this is her new content, okay? This is after she claims to be rebranding and claims that she's become aware of the criticisms that the way that she approaches the topic of infidelity is a bit patronizing, a bit smug, a bit rage baity. And when you create content that's so carefully curated to be so aggressively antagonistic, how can you also claim to be this place for healing where you're just trying to have nuanced conversations? It's just when we see videos like the one that I'm about to show you, it makes it a little bit harder to believe. Now, this one has since been mass deleted. There has been quite a blitzkrieg of her content since the onset of this lawsuit. In my personal opinion and belief, I believe that it is because there is incriminating content and comments within those videos that Chelsea is desperately trying to scrub so as to not be held responsible for things that are directly tied to the accusations within this case. That is my belief and interpretation. This is one of the videos that was scrubbed though, and let's watch this together, and I want you to tell me if you think that this is a carefully curated place for healing for all sides of the betrayal. Okay, mind you, she is also offering clientele privileges to betrayed spouses. She believes that she can help betrayed spouses. So this video, there's not going to be music because it was licensed, but it says, "Things your husband did while he was in an affair with me. Part 2, meaning there was a part 1. Was on a trip with me on your wedding anniversary, telling me how much he loves me and how incredible our relationship is." And I cannot stress enough that she is saying all of this while like gyrating and throwing herself around much like a wacky wavy inflatable man on a windy day. Like, she is really basking in this for some reason. It's giving a sense of pride, of glee and giddiness. Now, another thing I would like to really stress here is that she's been with her cheater husband Stan now for 10 years. It's been 10 years since he abandoned his wife and children to just start a brand new life, just leaving them behind a completely different country. It's been 10 years. I thought you won. Why are we making this content? Commented on your post about your anniversary, saying how much he loves you and how incredible your marriage is. And the gesture she seems to be doing is much like a kid on a playground going, "Nana, nana, boo, boo, you can't catch me." You know, like grown, mature, enlightened women do. She goes on, "Set up a bank account with me and hid money there from you to pay for all of our trips and to buy me gifts. Took you out with friends and let you wear the jacket I bought him for Valentine's Day. Told you about us and our 5-year affair on your birthday because he couldn't take the guilt anymore. Told me that he was ending things with us on my birthday because he couldn't take the guilt anymore." Dude just like loves birthdays. He's like, you know what's the best way for us to celebrate you? Consistent emotional dysfunction, just filling your entire soul with cortisol and causing mass emotional damage. That's how I would like to really celebrate you. All right, yeah, he just loves breaking up with his multiple girlfriends on their birthdays. It's a cute little Stan Lotzie he has. After disclosing, he would text me to contact him so we could talk, and he could say how much he loved me, but he had to stay for the kids. Is this what healing looks like? Is this... You get it. We don't have to even finish the full rest of the video, but this is the kind of content that is being produced out of the enlightened, the awakened, the much smarter than you, I cannot stress enough, other woman and the wife community, right? So you guys are thinking like, Lauren, we get it. Her shit sucks. She's a weird dancing lobster cheater who's creating a bunch of rage bait. What's new? What's different about this? Well, the lawsuit. So let's get into where this lawsuit begins by going back to our good old infographic. All right. I'm going to get on the other side, actually. This is better. So we now know about Chelsea and her 5-year-long affair with Stan, frequently referred to by her as the Stanimal. Okay? We know all about her little rage bait grift. Now, we meet a woman named Kristen, the protagonist of this story, the hero. Okay? Kristen is just a completely unrelated woman from Ohio. Chelsea is a cheating Valley Girl bimbo from California. However could these worlds collide? I will tell you. Kristen's living her life in Ohio. She's married to a man named Jason. And one of her best friends is a woman named Olivia. Now, one day, Olivia she's going through a divorce with her husband, okay? Times are tough. She really wants to get a break from him. What does Kristen do? She says, you know what? You can come stay with us. We're next door neighbors. We're best friends. You come stay with us. I'll help watch your kids. You can help watch our kids. We will help rebuild your heart. So Olivia says, oh my God, thank you so much. I will come into your home. And how does she decide to make it up to Kristen? Well, by fucking Jason for a whole goddamn year is what happened, okay? For a whole fucking year, she's just porking her best friend's husband, okay? And fuck you, Jason, for also doing that, right? Like, there's a lot of discussion in the other woman pages about how, why doesn't anybody ever blame that? Jason, here's your horns too. Fuck you. What the hell? Kristen's a babe. What's wrong with you? So anyway, Olivia's doing all that. And obviously, though, cheating is nuanced and everybody is a victim in an affair. So poor Olivia, she's having a really hard time with this, right? Like, it's really hard being a duplicitous liar who gaslights your best friend into thinking that you're not porking her husband and that she has nothing to worry about. That can be really hard on a person. But luckily, what does Olivia find? The other woman community that Chelsea has created. And Olivia says, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay $89 per quarterly year to go into this side piece coven and have all of my worst decisions validated and enabled by people with absolutely no credentials or therapy license or anything like that, right? Now, somehow, Olivia's involvement in this community, we get a discovery, okay? At one point, I'm going to go back to the chart. At one point, before Kristen knows about any of this world, she finds out what's going on between Jason and Olivia, okay? And she's like, well, I'm going to shut this down. And Jason agrees. He's like, yeah, we got to shut this down. So Jason cuts off Olivia completely. Kristen cuts off Olivia completely. But Olivia, allegedly, according to the court documents, has been part of this group for quite a while now, okay? And upon getting rejected and ousted by her former MM, as the cheaters call it, which is a abbreviation for married man, after getting dumped, basically, after not getting picked, which is the cruelest fate for a pick-me, isn't it? To not be picked. After being absolutely discarded and thrown aside, she just starts to basically mad shit talk Kristen on this community. And it's getting out of control, okay? And now how do we find this out though? How does anybody know that Olivia is doing this? Well, because one day, as Kristen is still healing from this entire affair and is trying to figure it all out, get over this massive betrayal, she is watching a lot of infidelity TikToks, right? It's all coming up on her feed. It's curated to the shit she's going through. When all of a sudden, whose page should pop up but Miss Chelsea's? And she sees this username, The Other Woman, who's about to try and validate some cheating affair story. And she's like, what does this have to say? And as Chelsea starts reading off text messages from a betrayed spouse to her husband's affair partner, it eerily sets in. Kristen realizes that these are literally her text messages. This is not just like similar to her text messages. This is not just like a very similar story. Chelsea Smallwood, the other woman and the wife, is reading verbatim the text messages that Kristen sent to Olivia, her best friend, the woman who's been porking her husband behind her back for a full year. And Kristen's like, what the obviously, I think as all of us would be. So she starts looking into this community, right? She starts looking into the other woman and the wife, and she sees that there is like this private community that you can join. So what does Kristen do? I think she does what probably a lot of us would do when our private, most personal, most devastating messages we have ever sent are being read aloud gleefully by some lady who's a proud cheater and who's judging the shit out of our situation and getting her massive platform to also lay their judgments on one of the worst things we've ever had to go through. I think she did what a lot of us would do, and she joined the community. So now we're going back here. Kristen's in here. Oh yeah, a character I forgot. During the time that Kristen had doubts about Jason and was worried that he was cheating on her, because, you know, they always like to say, like, oh, the wife is so suspicious. Is she like a suspicious person, or is she right? She starts going to therapy. Olivia finds out that Kristen is going to therapy for this very reason. And she's afraid that Kristen is going to discover some things. So what does Olivia do? She asks Kristen for her therapist's information. Olivia starts going to the therapist. Going to the same therapist. And it is believed and speculated that it is there where Olivia may have been trying to convince the therapist that there was no affair in order to damage Kristen's proper treatment and finding it out. Obviously didn't fully help, but it is important because the therapist is going to come back into play later. So now Kristen is in the other woman community, and what she finds there, allegedly, we'll find out for sure at the discovery trial, is messages where Olivia is posting not only Kristen's name, not only Kristen's picture, but Kristen's children as well. And not only is she posting identifiable photos and names of herself, Olivia is also allegedly in this group bragging and boasting to the entire community about how she would spy on Kristen and Jason's sexual acts with binoculars, and that she would also, on potentially more than one occasion, help herself to using Kristen's personal bedroom toys. You may have noticed in my illustration here Olivia has a little something in her hand. We'll call that an Easter egg. Okay. And I don't know about you guys, but if I was just cheated on for a whole freaking year by the man that I'm supposed to trust with my whole life, with a woman who I have been literally welcoming into my home, welcoming into my life, with also some of the greatest trust privileges in the world, and I find out all of this through a TikTok, I'm losing my mind, y'all. I'm going absolutely apeshit. Okay, so look, it's getting real, right? Now, we have to backtrack a little bit, okay? Because obviously, Kristen's mad, okay? And Kristen, it is my understanding, at some point contacted Chelsea and was like, dude, you got to take this shit down. This is all in the court documents, right? But this is my kind of paraphrased version of it. She's telling Chelsea, like, dude, you got to take this shit down. And Chelsea, being the enlightened, spiritual, awakened, chosen soul who is here to help others heal, says no. Leaves it all up. Okay? What happens next is what really begins to lead to the lawsuit. But I need to stress so hard. Do you think that Kristen is the first person to hate Chelsea? That's a question that I really want you to ask yourselves as we move forward and as we think about Chelsea's content. Do we think that Kristen is the first person who did not hope for the success of this business? And knowing now what we know about Chelsea's content and where she sources it from, do we even think it's likely that Kristen is one of the only victims of Chelsea's, the first betrayed spouse to have their private worst nightmare used as content fodder by this social media creator? Let's be very real. So, around the time that Chelsea becomes aware that a betrayed spouse is in the group and is very upset at the horrific, depraved, degenerate acts of her members, quite frankly, around the same time, a website gets posted. I believe the website was called Exposing the Other Woman and the Wife. It could have been Exposing TOWATW, which is the abbreviation that Chelsea uses. I never got to see the website. I've simply heard about it from other people who did see it. And apparently, this website did basically the Ashley Madison thing of like name and shaming people throughout the group. This freaked Chelsea the hell out. She starts posting on her TikToks, we've been breached. People are doxing my clients. It was all this whole woe is me stuff of like, how dare people come for us? All we were doing was bragging about using our best friends' dildos behind their backs while we their husbands. Why would anyone ever do this to us? She's horrified. Now, there are a lot of people out there, and I even did a podcast with one man who shares this opinion, who do highly believe that it was wrong to name and shame these cheaters. Okay? There are people out there who are like, listen, you shouldn't have done that. That's not right. It's dangerous. And I will meet them, actually. I will meet them halfway and say, I can't deny that the thought of these things doesn't bring me joy. I was giddy when Ashley Madison got hacked and people got exposed, and it did bring me some joy hearing that, this group was also being exposed. But was it the right way to do it? Probably not the rightest way. It was definitely on the wronger end of how this could have been dealt with. But obviously, it created quite a stir. and Chelsea became very desperate to prove to her community that she really was reliable. She really was trustworthy. No, 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 please. You can trust me. And why does she need to do that? Well, in my opinion, I can only speculate here. My guess would be something along the lines of, no, 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 please, I need you to stay so I can keep collecting your money and your juicy affair stories so that I can keep creating content based off of it. She can't be having her cows fully running out through the fence. She needs them there to continue milking them on her little affair cult farm. Okay, so desperate to prove that she had the resources to keep them safe and that justice would prevail, she decided she was going to pin the entire thing on Kristen. Kristen has completely denied making this website or joining the group with the intent purpose of ruining the group. I think it's pretty obvious that the reason that she joined the group was to figure out how her own personal information was being disseminated throughout this community, right? But this is where the lawsuit begins, because Chelsea has access to Kristen. There's no other of her haters that she has a name and address for, right? She doesn't have access to any of her other haters' names or address. Obviously, that's why I got emailed a cease and desist instead of certified mail in the actual mail, and why the name on this cease and desist may or may not even be my real legal name. So clearly, Chelsea does not actually know how to find anybody who hacked the website or put it up. It was claimed, from what I hear, to have been between anywhere between 4, 5, and 11 different people who claimed to be behind it, from what I've heard. And I believe that. I believe that because this woman has had hundreds to thousands of hate messages since she first started a platform for being a professional cheater. But because Olivia was in the group, and Olivia has deeply ingrained herself in the cheating coven by even becoming one of the additional coaches to help other cheaters, because Olivia is deeply ingratiated here and has Kristen's contact information, it makes Kristen an easy target. Chelsea's able to say, well, clearly you're angry, clearly you stepped in, and I have you signing this contract that you'll behave and do everything that I say, so time to flex my rich husband Stan's money and just blow through as much as I possibly can on a frivolous lawsuit. And that's exactly what she did. Kristen Jacobs was sued in Miami County, Ohio by Chelsea Smallwood and the other woman and the wife, claiming tortious interference, basically saying that by Kristen going out and in any way telling other people what goes on inside of this community, that she was breaking all of the contracts that she had signed when joining this group. Now, what I don't think that Chelsea was expecting was a gigantic, massive countersuit where Kristen would come back absolutely swinging, saying, no, actually, you are the one who committed tortious interference by breaking your own contract to prevent your own clients or protect your own clients, such as myself, and I'm going to sue you for emotional damages because you did all this crazy shit, and then showed up with receipts. Chelsea has yet to provide any evidence that Kristen is behind the website, that Kristen led an actual campaign to try and bring down her business. I personally have yet to see anything like this. Of course, that is what the later discovery trial will be for. So far, there have just been numerous filings, and in Kristen's countersuit, while the suit was originally just between these two, Kristen, because Olivia is directly under the employ of Chelsea and the other woman, Kristen was able to bring Olivia back into the suit by saying, well, you're one of the coaches And you're also committing the tortious interference because you were under the same contract to not bully or harass any members. And guess who's a member? Me. So I'm taking you guys down, as a matter of fact. All right. And I've reviewed all of these in past videos, the actual lawsuits themselves, but a few things have happened since then. First of all, I started covering it, okay, which is how I received this cease and desist here on Christmas Eve. All right. Shortly after I started covering basically everything that I just covered, on Christmas Eve, I received this email. This is really great. Let me read this to you. The reason I'm not showing it on screen is just in case this law office has some kind of like copywritten design or something that I don't know. I'm just trying to be careful. Okay. This reads, Dear Miss what she thinks my last name is. This is a cease and desist, re the Other Woman and the Wife, LLC. This office represents the Other Woman and the Wife, LLC, also known as TOWATW. Very important to make that distinguishment. And Chelsea Smallwood. Quote, Miss Smallwood. Okay? The Other Woman and the Wife and Miss Smallwood, collectively referred to hereinafter as our client. I write on behalf of our client regarding the serious matters of your defamatory statements concerning our client and your harassment of its members. We refer to the Other Woman and the Wife's terms of service between the Other Woman and the Wife and its users. So you gotta understand, like, I'm reading this on Christmas Eve as I drive into town with my family going, is she trying to use her Other Woman cheater coven rules on me? Does she think that she can just like point to people and go, you have to follow my cheating rules? Very ironic that the Other Woman community is mad about anybody breaking any rules, but most importantly, how the fuck do these rules apply to me? Oh, she'll explain. This goes on to say, the facts concerning this matter are not in dispute, though they very much are. On October 28th, 2024, you published on YouTube from the monetized account, the Dadvocate, a live stream entitled Meet the Woman Profiting Off of Infidelity, Chelsea Smallwood, the first defamatory post. As of the date of this letter, a complete record of the first defamatory post can be accessed here, and then she posts the URL. As you describe in the first defamatory post, you snuck into our client's online community to surreptitiously discover private facts disclosed by our client's community members in confidence. So this is quite a bold claim here, because the only words in quotes are snuck into, which I did say. I said I snuck into her community. That is not an admission in totality and indisputable that I paid any sort of such money to join an Other Woman club. Okay, what I meant by I snuck into her community is I went into her comment section, and I further used those terms because I also went through the Other Woman subreddit, a publicly accessible forum where dumbass cheaters tell on themselves. Okay, you're able to obtain a ton of information about the kinds of person that likes this content very publicly, because most of you guys are dumb as rocks. So you just leave all of the breadcrumbs we need to find you out everywhere. Well, I didn't need to do no surreptitious nothing, y'all. What's the super chat say? Freedom Fiend says, Cheater Coven really is so appropriate. 300 years ago, Chelsea absolutely would have been burned at the stake for bewitching women into cheating. I mean, look, don't give her any more fodder for her martyr complex, okay? Because she's gonna take a video of, like, witches being burned at the stake and make a video and be like, why why burning cheaters at the stake is so harmful and problematic. Like, dude, you are absolutely feeding into her victim complex with that. She'll use it too. I mean, she's gonna use this whole video to be like, I do realize that I cheated on my husband with a cheater and then made a whole community where cheaters can brag about the disgusting things they do to the people they cheated on and with. But now you're telling people about it, so I'm the victim. Like, it's insane. And we haven't even gotten down like the deepest part of the rabbit hole. Basically, like, she keeps going on to say that to gain such access to the community, you manifested assent to the terms of service whereby you agreed to refrain from harassing, threatening, demeaning, embarrassing, bullying, or otherwise harming any other user of the community. So she's basically saying, like, anybody who joins her website isn't allowed, like, legally to ever say anything mean about anyone else. This is per her own words. Okay, now, I didn't fucking join this community, so it doesn't apply to me. But what this does tell me is that she agrees that neither she, nor Olivia, nor Kristen were supposed to be bullying, demeaning, or harassing any of them. And so what she's admitting to is that Kristen's claims that by Chelsea failing to remove Olivia's posts, definitely demeaning her, and that by Olivia refusing to delete her own posts, where she's definitely demeaning her, even after becoming aware of the fact of, like, hey, I'm here, I'm allowed to be here, I'm allowed to join anonymously, I'm allowed to join as a betrayed spouse, please stop posting shit about me and not doing it. Aren't you breaking your own shit? Aren't you tortiously interfering, bitch? Like, what? This is just the funniest thing. I won't read the full thing so we can get into the absolute insanity of the updates that follow. But she really, she gets mad at the way that I frame things. You assert in the caption of the second defamatory post that Miss Smallwood started the other woman and the wife with the specific intent to help teach other cheaters how to gaslight their spouses too, end quote. But a cursory review of the Other Woman and the Wife website unequivocally reveals that Miss Smallwood started the Other Woman and the Wife with the sole purpose to help members heal as an individual. Emphasis in original. So indeed, your intimate knowledge of the content in our clients' offerings, including the Other Woman and the Wife website, confirms that you posted the second defamatory post with knowledge of its falsity. So here Chelsea is claiming that by me using my own definition and opinion and interpretation of what she is trying to do with her platform, instead of a place where I'm supposed to have access to her preferred definition, is illegal. She's like, no, because I told you the way that I want you to refer to my business. So by you not using the words that I like, you need to go to jail. This is like definition adult temper tantrum, dude. Christmas Eve. This lady's supposed to be like happily married to the cheater she bagged with like the 3 kids that hopefully he won't also abandon. Like, she's supposed to be living this like happy life with them, but this is what she's doing on Christmas Eve, y'all. Absolutely wild. You assert in the 4th defamatory post that Miss Smallwood was encouraging a community member to admit to some of the most depraved acts you have ever heard, end quote, and continue with a laundry list of quote-unquote depraved acts that such community member purportedly, quote, brags about committing. But to buttress your assertions, you include screenshots of the allegations and a third party's counterclaim against our client. It is remarkably unclear how such allegations and a counterclaim constitute admissions of fact by either our client or the community member, much less bragging. What is clear, however, is that you proceeded in making the 4th defamatory post with knowledge that such assertions were false, or at the very least, a reckless disregard for the truth. Lady, yeah, I used screenshots from a publicly accessible lawsuit. And what's crazy too is like, she's trying to claim that, like, if I was really part of the community, I would know that this isn't what it looks like. I don't know, man. It really looks like you're helping enable people who like to brag about their infidelity and teach them gaslighting techniques. That's still what it looks like. Anyway, now's also a good time to let you guys know one of the other recent developments. And I covered this in a video, but just to remind you guys, one of the recent developments is that Kristen and Olivia have privately settled their part of the suit. So all of the claims about how Olivia spied on Jason and Kristen's sexual acts with binoculars, that Kristen was fully prepared to present with full evidence of in trial, and which is still not off the table for presenting in discovery, mind you. Basically, Olivia's cut out of the lawsuit. They privately settled, which I'm assuming means that Olivia probably had to pay out the absolute ass to Kristen. That's my sincerest hope anyway. But Olivia is out of the lawsuit. Does that mean that she didn't do any of those things, though? No. That's not what it means. Olivia's never denied any of it. Never. Olivia has never denied that she posted within this community that she used binoculars to watch Kristen and Jason engage in sexual acts. Olivia has never denied that she, on at least one occasion, but possibly many more, went into Kristen's bedroom to use her sex toys on herself. Olivia has never denied these things. All we know is that she has found a way to get herself out of any criminal liability or civil liability for these actions. Okay? Now, Chelsea's the one on the line for it. And given my understanding of how tortious interference works, if the main argument that Kristen has is that Chelsea is responsible for extreme emotional damages by failing to protect her as one of her clients, I don't see why Kristen can't still use all of the evidence of Olivia's posts against Chelsea. Okay? So just some things to keep in mind. Other additional things to the case is that Chelsea's first lawyer is out. He's not here anymore, which I think might have something to do with this video.
Guess who just got permission to have fun on TikTok again? Me. I just got permission. External and interpersonal. So
very interesting thing to post right around the point that it's filed that Chelsea will now be having brand new representation, to come on and say that you've just gotten permission to start having fun on TikTok again. Do you want to know how I interpret this? Do you want to know my interpretation of I now have permission to start having fun on TikTok again? Is my read on that is my former lawyer told me to stop antagonizing betrayed spouses while I'm in the middle of a lawsuit with a very antagonized betrayed spouse who's suing me for emotional damages. But I didn't like that because I have fun when I'm rage baiting betrayed spouses. So I'm going to either fire him or the lawyer gave up on me, one or the other. But my new lawyer, who I am assuredly not giving the full story to, says that I can post whatever I want, and I like that. So I'm going to self-sabotage now. That's my own personal opinion and interpretation of what this all means, aligned with the recent filings of her already being on her second lawyer, which, like, I know she's not showing the lawyer the graph. Okay, I know we're not referencing the chart. There's something I forgot, by the way. Another thing that was filed was Chelsea responded to Kristen's countersuit, and one of the things that she admitted to is Kristen claims, and I guess I don't have to claim it now that everybody's or saying that it's alleged, now that everybody's agreeing that this happened, but one of Kristen's major complaints against Chelsea that is very strong here now is that Chelsea used Olivia's knowledge of who her therapist is to contact Kristen's therapist about Kristen. That sounds real tortious-y and interference-y. It sounds real tortious interference-y to me. To find out your typically HIPAA-protected client's information, a client that you allegedly share a contract with to protect and make sure that they never feel bullied or demeaned, to contact their fucking therapist and interfere with their mental health work of healing from betrayal, the thing that you claim to care so much about, the thing that you claim is your life's work, the thing that you feel the most important thing on your whole page is about, that you're not really trying to antagonize or rage bait, you're not trying to do anything but help betrayed spouses and affair partners and anybody experiencing infidelity, you just want them to heal. You're going to contact her therapist and start talking shit to somehow get in the way of her healing journey? That's fucking crazy. Chelsea admitted to it. You can go look up the court documents yourself. Chelsea just full on said with her chest, yep, I did that. And still thinks that she has a case and that Kristen doesn't have a case. It is looking quite bad, okay? Now, before we get into the social media online updates of this insane lawsuit, I will tell you about the latest filing. I'm not going to bore you with it. You can go read the full thing if you want, but essentially the decision has been made. A decision that we have long been waiting on is this case going to go to a private arbitration where whatever happens will remain behind closed doors and the general public will never know about it? Or will this go to a public jury trial wherein I will personally be able to drive in and view it in person and give coverage on the scene? Which is it going to be? And a judge has finally decided it's going to public jury trial in Miami County, Ohio, where, man, when news outlets pick this up, that there is an affair coaching business trying to sue and get countersued by her betrayed spouse, victim of her rage bait. And when they find out that to this day, the betrayed spouse and the woman her husband was cheating with are still next door neighbors, Ohio's gonna get some tourism, okay? That's all I can truly say, is that it's gonna get some tourism, I imagine. I anticipate. So look, it's like maybe a 5-hour drive from me. I will happily be covering this case to its entirety. All right. Now, that's all we've got as far as the legal filings go. So you may be wondering, what's going on in the meantime? What is going on as we wait to figure this out? One thing that could also potentially happen, though, before we get too excited about the public jury trial, is that there could potentially still be a private settlement. A lot of times what they try to do is give the lawyers enough time to potentially work something out behind the scenes, so there is still a chance that Kristen and Chelsea will privately settle, okay? But until anything happens, I'm still going to be covering this. Once the lawsuit is settled, I swear to God, I feel like I never want to talk about this woman ever again, because at the end of the day, she's never going to change. And once I reveal to you this next brand new rabbit hole that we're about to go down when it comes to this woman, you will see what I mean when I say that, like, this is a schizo arc that you simply can't stop. Like, she is fully committed to the whole, if you call me a cheater, you're the one committing violence bit. And it's only going to get so much worse. Okay? Let's just get into it, because I've also prepared an entire PowerPoint. So we have to also rewind back to another video that I made. In between waiting for the justice system to slowly slug along, I've been looking a lot into like Chelsea's history and Chelsea's other patterns of behavior. And I ended up making a video about her appearance on a Jubilee panel called, I believe it's Is Cheating Ever Justified? Or something like that. I'm sure you can imagine what side that she was on. And in this video, I highly recommend going back and watching it on my playlist of the Cheating Chelsea case. I discovered that Chelsea was absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree in the comment section of that video, but for good reason. Again, I need to stress, this was before I came along. This was before Kristen came along. So all this fucking cease and desist, the Dadvocate is the only reason that people would ever not like me. All this freaking lawsuits of Kristen's the only person who could possibly hate me. The Jubilee panel proved that there are so many other suspects for who could possibly hate Chelsea Smallwood. All right, she had such takes on this panel as, oh, well, I don't like to play the blame game when it comes to infidelity because everyone plays a role. What role was Kristen playing other than staying at home, waiting for her husband to come home, like helping out her friend through her divorce? Why did she deserve to get cheated on and gaslit for a year? What was her role? Providing for the family, being a good mother, being a good friend? Nah, y'all cheat no matter who's playing what roles, okay? But she got gobbled up in the comment section. And do you think that Chelsea would ever, like, come into the comment section on her own account to stick up for herself? I personally don't think so. So this is where we get another arc. The Arias 25 arc. Okay? And it's a lot to cover. There's no way I can fully summarize every single comment that was left. But in this Jubilee panel, I went over how a character named Arias25, an anonymous account, comes in, and for like at least 40 comments, possibly more, I may not have found them all. Sometimes YouTube is a little weird with loading comments. I discovered like 40 freaking comments from this Arias25 person desperately defending Chelsea and speaking to Chelsea's experience almost as though they had intimate knowledge of either what it's like being Chelsea personally or being a person who's very close to Chelsea. And so in that video, I did put in a bit of a conspiracy hat, a bit of a tinfoil hat here, as I guesstimated that perhaps Arias is just Chelsea desperately and covert narcissistically defending herself, pretending to be this therapist named Arias. It's very unhinged, and I thought for sure, after I made a video like that, fully calling out the Arias25 arc, the schizo arc of the other women, that there's no way she'd do it again, right? There's no way that she would be delusional enough to do the exact same thing on another video where people are hating on her. She couldn't do it again, could she? Yesterday, one of my favorite YouTube creators, The Authentic Observer, came out with an absolute nuke on the other woman and the wife and Chelsea Smallwood. And she's not the first person to do this, okay? I covered Chelsea, but so did this creator, Rebel D. Highly recommend his video. This Pick Me Home Wrecker is a life coach. She has also been covered by one of my other favorite YouTubers, Film Cooper, who put out this amazing hit piece, The Husband Stealing, Cheating TikTok Life Coach. Amazing watches, amazing watches. But now we get this next piece. Cheating is good for enlightenment. Highly recommend watching this. Honestly, I still haven't personally finished it. But what I did do was immediately go to the comment section because I love relishing in a good, safe space where we can all truly just come together and absolutely shit on our common enemy, the other woman and the wife, okay? And what I found, I had to once again, Arias 25 style, create an entire PowerPoint presentation of all of the screenshots of a new character that has entered the Schizo arc. A character that goes by Scrunchy Howard 8400. Okay? Let's get into the very first comment that this person leaves. Okay? I had to screen record it because it is so insanely long. But I will read it to you. Let me move this over, okay? And look, for legal reasons, I don't know that this is Chelsea. I don't know that this is even anybody who knows Chelsea. I don't know with 100% certainty that this is one of her few, though she loves to claim thousands, of other women or whatever. But I do know that I'm going to have to take a big drink of water before I get into this, okay? I'm not telling you that this individual is 100% Chelsea. You can draw your own conclusions. Let me read this quick super chat. Oh my God, both Arias and Chelsea are both integrated into one. Wait, before we get into this, I have to lead you guys down another conspiracy red string connection that I made, okay? So what Oh my God is referring to here is throughout the many dozens of comments that this Arias 25 character left desperately defending Chelsea and cheating and the community and all that stuff, was they kept talking about like, Chelsea's just so integrated. Chelsea is an integrated individual and you just wouldn't understand because integrated. I need to show you guys an insane connection that I literally just made on this. Okay, now for anybody who wants to watch my video on the Arias situation, by the way, it's this one. I posted 2 months ago, but it's Creepy Cheating Coven Gets Worse and Worse. It's called Cheating Chelsea, a Fair Business Lawsuit is Getting Insane. If you want to catch up on it, you can read the full Arias text. But one of the common themes there was this word, integrated. It's become kind of a meme for those of us in the Chelsea hating community. And a new plot twist has shown up when it comes to this because her most recent podcast, the Other Woman and the Wife podcast, is with this guy named Rob Bell, a spiritual thought leader. I don't know if you guys have heard of Rob Bell. He's kind of a controversial, religious type of guy. Also 37 views since Sunday is very sad, but at least I'm giving you a view, Chelsea. You're welcome. And This whole interview is so cringe. If you love secondhand embarrassment and mostly like watching Chelsea squirm, I highly recommend watching this because it could not be more apparent that Chelsea here is obsessed with this guy. She talks about how she's read like all of his books, but throughout the whole interview, this guy could not seem any less interested in Chelsea at all. It's very clear that like she probably paid him to come on there and he decided to take the bag without doing a drop of research. In fact, at one point she's like, I'm sure you didn't even Google me before this. And he goes, no, I think it's best to learn about a person through them. And I'm like, that's a really creative way of saying like, yeah, I absolutely did not waste any time researching you or preparing for this interview whatsoever. They overtalk each other constantly, and the ending, we have to watch the ending together because it is so painful. But I brought us here to this timeline, this exact timestamp of this interview, because he says something that is going to make you guys scream. You guys are literally going to like flip the fucking table as so many dots align, and it's not proof that Chelsea is Arias, but I just need you all to remember Arias integrated, right? Chelsea, obsessed with Rob Bell, has read all of his books, which she claims in this exact podcast. You can hear it for yourself from the horse's mouth. Listen to what Rob Bell says here.
It feels like shit. What should you do next? And how do you do it in a way where you're still making sure that you're the one who's making decisions?
Depending on what you're experiencing, I would just ask, what's the playing field here? Is it shame? Okay. I'm sure lots of people have had things to say about shame. So I'm going to educate myself on this playing field. How have human beings dealt with shame? And then I'm going to integrate. So I'm going to take almost no one.
Whoops. Sorry. What was that? What was that exact?
On me, because I doubt you even looked me up or anything.
Oh yeah, I doubt you looked me up. There's that.
Like shit.
I'm going to educate myself on this playing field. How?
I'm sorry, we have to do this for dramatic speed.
Have human beings dealt with all of this?
I might have gone too.
And oh, that's interesting perspective. Oh, Gabor Mate. Interesting.
Dang it. I gotta go back to the normal speed. I'm
I
sorry.
would just say as a friend of mine says,
Did I go too far?
why wouldn't you want to hear the greatest? Just say, how have human beings dealt with shame? And then I'm going to integrate. So human beings dealt with shame. And then I'm going to integrate. How have human beings dealt with shame?
Now we're going for the dramatic speed.
And then I'm going to integrate.
Now this, I swear I started screaming. I was like, dude, no way. Now get how much crazier this gets. Okay? I Googled Rob Bell, and you know what comes up? Rob Bell, known for his book Love Wins, which Chelsea loves, has explored ideas related to integral theory. You're telling me that this man has written an entire book about being integrated, a book that Chelsea loves so much that she has very likely paid this man to be on the show. If he's not paid, I will be very surprised, but reached out and practically begged for him to be on. Talks about how she's going to go to one of his like retreats or meetups or something, and you're telling me that you're not Arias as fuck? I could not believe that, dude. So just before we get to this next thing, I had to show you guys these connected dots. All right. maybe it's just a big integrated coincidence, all right? But this is crazy. Also, we have to watch how this ends. It is so painful, and I just need you guys to experience the secondhand embarrassment of this with me.
Understands.
Oh, we gotta... Let's bring it back to normal.
And there's better and better really make you really screw up. You know
That's
what I mean?
how the whole podcast
I've never met
ends.
somebody who like did something they really truly regretted or made a mess,
It's so
and they were
awkward.
working through it, and they were seeing that they're okay, and they were experiencing grace, who didn't go forward with like more integrity, more character, more love. Yeah, so keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I really appreciate this.
Pleasure to meet you.
It was a pleasure to meet you, and I can't wait to see you in Ojai.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, so keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I really appreciate this.
Pleasure to meet you.
It was a pleasure to meet you, and I can't wait to see you in Ojai.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Oh my god, the way he's literally just like, anyway, that's a hard hour. Bye. And as she's literally talking about how she's so excited to meet him, and then the way she just awkwardly is sitting there and it goes, okay. Bye. He's not even there anymore. You're not talking to anybody anymore, sweetheart. Oh man. Oh, we love to see it. So that was important context though, because like I said, we didn't fully have a strong link, right, between Chelsea and Arias. I mean, there's the fact that, like, why would a complete and total stranger be going so hard for another complete and total stranger as much as the Arias character did? And I'm not talking like they just spent a day in the comment section. This Arias person would go back to that comment section month after month after month. Every single month, I found Arias commenting. There's stuff from 4 months ago, 6 months ago, like 2 months ago. They return to the scene of the crime to continue simping for and defending Chelsea. As I said in my video, if it's not Chelsea, if it's not one of Chelsea's flying monkeys, then it is someone who wants to wear Chelsea as a skin suit. There is no normal option for this behavior at the end of the day. So I thought surely after the Arias nuke, she wouldn't dare go back into another video where people are roasting her and do the same exact thing. But this is where we will be moving into the next part of this of this segment. Oh boy. Let me move this back so you guys can hopefully read it, but I will read it to you. This says from Scrunchy Howard 8400, and another very common theme was when it came to the Arias character, they were like so determined to make sure that every single thing was like a freaking thesis they were basically writing. And almost all of their comments were edited. Like they were like, I gotta be as articulate as I can as I stick up for this person who I don't really know. I just happen to share an opinion with them and I feel like I can connect to them. So I must know every single thing about them somehow. Like, so we once again have edited. A small detail, but again, I'm in Charlie Kelly corkboard mode. The small details matter. Scrunchy Howard 8400, who is definitely not Chelsea, says, Authentic Observer, your video attacking the Other Woman and the Wife podcast is not only misinformed, but also a perfect example of how society refuses to engage with infidelity in a meaningful way. Rather than approaching the podcast discussion with an open mind, you resort to moral grandstanding and misrepresentation, completely ignoring the depth of the conversations being had. Had you actually done your research, you'd know that the Other Woman and the Wife is a space where people from all sides of infidelity infidelity. Betrayed spouses, affair partners, and unfaithful spouses themselves can speak honestly about their experience without being demonized. One of the most telling examples of the podcast's integrity is the episode where Chelsea, the host, brings on Luke Schillings, the host of After the Affair, a podcast run by a betrayed husband. Despite coming from opposing sides of the experience, Luke and Chelsea have a cordial, respectful, and even friendly discussion. They treat each other with humanity, something you and your audience seem unwilling to do when discussing infidelity. The fact that a betrayed spouse can engage in thoughtful dialogue with someone like Chelsea proves that the other woman and the wife is about understanding, not justification. I'm going to pause there for a couple reasons, right? Like, okay, there's a lot that's like off the jump. Does this sound like a person who could possibly not be Chelsea? Like, they're going real hard here, man. But also, this whole thing of, I don't like you guys trying to say that that this is a justifying group. It's not a justifying group, okay? Is that it really coincides with this recent Instagram post that Chelsea made, okay? Let me just share this with you guys. This is one of Chelsea's more recent posts. And it says, "They say we help people cheat." Her caption reads, "No, we don't help people cheat. We help people who silenced themselves years ago find their voice again, regardless of how their affair story ends." So it's clear to me that Chelsea does not like when people say any sort of thing, like obviously here we also saw it. We don't help teach people to gaslight. We don't help people cheat. Okay, we help them heal. That's my preferred definition. How dare you not use it? It's just a common theme. Like, even if you're a person who has cheated, and I feel like I've said this in a lot of my videos, the average person understands that affairs have nuance. You know what I mean? And the average person understands that a person may have complex reasons for cheating, that affairs can be very complicated, that just because you're a cheater doesn't necessarily mean you're an evil person who should never ever be forgiven or have friends or even have access to a happy life. Like, most of us do not feel that black and white about it. It's like you, Chelsea. It's you and the community that you made that is not the way to go about it at all. I've also recommended this creator plenty of times. Lauren LaRusso is a licensed therapist and a content creator who specializes in affairs and also claims to help individuals on all sides of the aisle. And never in my life have I ever seen Lauren LaRusso trolling, antagonizing, rage baiting. She creates authentic content that actually works. And coincidentally, Chelsea once did have Lauren LaRusso on her podcast. That episode is gone, and Lauren LaRusso has stated that she has absolutely no ongoing relationship with Chelsea. Lauren LaRusso is also following me. So I cannot say for sure what Lauren LaRusso's opinions of Chelsea are, but I can tell you that she is not the same. Not the same. There is a good way and a bad way of covering affairs, okay? And I think even if you were a cheater and you felt like maybe you were being personally attacked in this video, I still can't imagine going this freaking hard. Because look, this is a recording of me filming the entire thing. It's a 5-minute long recording. This is possibly the longest comment I have ever read in my entire life. Okay? There we go. And that's exactly why this podcast is so important. Society overwhelmingly caters to betrayed spouses, offering them support groups, therapists, and entire narratives that reaffirm their pain. But those who have engaged in affairs, who, by the way, are also human, are constantly told they're irredeemable, selfish, and undeserving of love or compassion. That's not just unfair, it's dehumanizing. Apparently, holding people accountable and pointing out the very real harm that harmful actions cause is dehumanizing. You're supposed to just sweep it under the rug so that they don't have to feel bad, because that's not cool, okay? People in adulterous situations love the rebranding here. No, they're not a cheater. They're just a person in an adulterous situation. Deserve spaces where they can speak honestly without being shouted down by moral absolutionists who refuse to understand their perspectives. Affairs don't happen in a vacuum. They happen for real reasons: complex emotional needs, lack of fulfillment, personal struggles, and it does no good to simply paint all adulterers as villains. That's the kind of black and white thinking that keeps people locked in cycles of guilt, secrecy, and shame, instead of fostering real personal growth and healing. You and your commenters don't actually care about deep discussions on relationships or the human condition. You just want an easy target to hate. But reality is not that simple. Yeah, we created cheaters. We made them break their marriage vows that they hold their partner accountable for. We made them get married and agree to monogamy, and then we made them cheat so that we could all just have a common enemy. The truth is not that we all hate duplicitous, lying betrayal. We just want an easy target. That's all. Cheaters deserve love, compassion, and understanding just as much as anyone else. Maybe instead of making inflammatory content for internet outrage, you should actually listen to what's being said in these spaces. You might learn something. I'm sorry. She's the one creating inflammatory content for outrage? And things your husband did while he was cheating on you with me is what? Healing, compassionate discourse. Do you, like, if you're not Chelsea, do you know who you're defending? Have you done a speck of research even? Let's not forget the video that now only exists through Film Cooper, who was able to memorialize it, where Chelsea actually blames Stan's ex-wife, literally tries to make the affair seem like her fault because she chooses to keep believing him when he says it's over, which is so dumb of her, because if he lied to you before, you should already know he's going to lie to you now. So that's so dumb of you to believe him, your husband. And so now that you've married him, knowing his duplicitous nature, that means what? Like, the Authentic Observer makes such a great point that, you know, if she's so dumb for trusting him and believing him when she didn't fully know the extent of his duplicitous nature, how dumb does it make you that you know the full extent of how much he's able to lie, and you still chose to marry him afterward? Jojo, so good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. I do see them. They're just not showing up right now. And thank you, SVR. It was the patriarchy that made her do it. That's what's so crazy, too, is there's a lot of comments from Chelsea, her followers, and these anonymous accounts that no one can tell who they are, is there's going to be a lot of arguments for how hating cheaters is actually supporting the patriarchy and not being a real girl's girl or something. Look, they really give it to ChatGPT when they're like, please, please, please write me an entire thesis on why cheating is actually okay. You use as much hippy dippy bullshit speak and word salad as you possibly can. Send. They go on. They quote a timestamp. This chapter is built on the flawed premise that infidelity is inherently evil, that those who engage in it must grovel for forgiveness, and that they owe some grand accountability ritual to the people they've supposedly wronged. Yes, you owe an apology to the people you made a promise to, and then you lied to them over and over and over again, destroying their trust in not only others, but themselves, leaving them a husk of an eternally gaslit person who's been gaslit for, in your case, half a fucking decade. Yeah, I would say an apology is probably fair. You're saying people shouldn't have to apologize because it's a shameful accountability ritual? Yeah, if you told someone you're going to do something, you should do it. And if you don't do it, you should take accountability for that. Yes. You should have an accountability ritual. And what is this supposedly wronged? You literally made a marriage covenant. Like, Chelsea claims to this day to still be a Christian. Meaning, when you made that marriage vow, it wasn't just a government contract, but to be clear, it was a contract. One that he didn't feel he could break. He wasn't out there cheating on you. He was staying loyal to you, protecting your pH balance. And you don't think that you wronged him. But then you also are going to go on to talk about how, oh, but like cheaters do feel guilt. Just remember that like it's a supposedly wrong. But then the same person is going to go on to talk about how, but you can see the cheaters feel guilt. Well, why would they feel guilt if it was only supposedly wrong? There's no intellectual consistency here. She goes on, they go on. I don't know that it's a she. It could be a man. Maybe. It could be not Chelsea. But here's the truth you refuse to acknowledge. Infidelity is a valid form of love. It is not a crime, not a moral failing, and not something that requires atonement. What is a moral failing? A moral failing is when you choose to have a moral structure for yourself. Failing is when you fail that standard that you set for yourself, right? So if you go into a marriage covenant before the eyes of God and you say, I believe that I can be the kind of person who does not stray from my marriage, that's literally definition moral failing. It is not a crime. Also, because there's alienation of affection laws, there is fault divorce in many states. Can you go to jail? And some places, yes. In some places, it's not really very on the books or still in action anymore, but it has historically actually been a crime, and not something that requires atonement. Now that part is technically true. Technically, you can cheat and move on and never apologize, and you never have to. It kind of makes you a bitch, though. Your entire argument rests on the assumption that monogamy is some inviolable, sacred contract, and that anyone who steps outside of it has committed an unforgivable betrayal. But the reality is, people who have affairs do so because they are seeking something deeply fulfilling. Love, passion, connection, self-discovery. And what's so crazy about them going off on this freaking tangent is this is the same. This person is protecting and defending the same person who said that it's reductionist to call a cheater. That's being too reductive. I think it's being, maybe reductive isn't the word, maybe overly blanketing to say that everyone who has an affair is seeking something deeper. You know, there are people who just want to fuck, right? You understand that. Like, you can't be so delusional that you honestly believe that every single person who has an affair it's their spouse's fault. No, that's what you believe. You honestly believe that people wouldn't cheat if their spouse simply gave them 100% of everything they needed and wanted at all times. Like, that's what I'm reading between the lines here. But a lot of people cheat just because they're selfish. That's how there's an entire subreddit called r/cake eaters, because they're cheaters who admit that they already have their cake, but they want to eat it too. They're happy in their marriages. They're getting laid in their marriages. They have strong emotional connections and financial stability in their marriages. They just also want to other people. You understand that, right? Like, it's amazing how someone can be so smart and yet so fucking dumb. She says that is not wrong. It is human nature. Lifelong monogamy is not a realistic expectation for everyone. Chelsea has stated numerous times on her podcast that she and Stan are allegedly monogamous. Chelsea has used the fact that Stan has, in her mind, only cheated once for 5 straight years because he only ever cheated with her. Except for the time that Stan also admits he cheated in a past relationship, but that one doesn't count because they weren't married yet. So you see how, like, we start adding, like, the goalposts keep moving? It's like relationships for her are like Calvin Ball, where the rules just keep changing depending on what you need to do with the relationship at the time. Like, yeah, I'm going to get into this monogamous committed marriage, but wait, no, that's actually, monogamy is not for me because I'm going to cheat on you. But now I'm going to get into another monogamous marriage, but, you know, monogamy... It's such a cage, isn't it? But also, I would leave my husband if he cheated on me. There's a lot of dots not connecting here. There's a lot of just all over the place logic, because these are all things Chelsea has said throughout her podcasts. She claims that she and Stan are monogamous. She claims that Stan has never cheated any other time, even though he admits in one of her shorts to having cheated in a past relationship. She's said, man, I don't even remember like in what podcast it was, but she had alluded to that she would probably leave Stan if he cheated on her, but then has also said in her Jubilee appearance that she wouldn't want to know if Stan cheated on her, and then says recently in another podcast that she didn't used to understand people who could stay with cheaters if the money was there, but now she does understand. Now that she is married, the former international manager of a well-known shoe company, now that she lives in a home that's valued at over $1 million, now I guess she's willing to tolerate some cheating for the bag, quite frankly, is my opinion and interpretation of the situation. But this person is saying lifelong monogamy is not a realistic expectation for everyone, and I agree. That's why polyamory exists. That's why being single exists. And that's why marriage exists, to stay away from you fucking people. It's what we're trying to do here. Why we have these systems in place. No one's forcing you to get married. No one made you do that twice. No one made you. Okay? I understand why you did. I get it. It wasn't for the monogamy, though. Wasn't for that. People should not be condemned for following their hearts, even if that means breaking the rules that society has arbitrarily imposed on relationships. Bitch, society didn't arbitrarily impose anything on you. You took the time to create your own rules. You made up the rules for yourself. You just also broke them, as you did in this tortious interference situation. You made your own terms of service where you said, I'm not going to harass anybody else in the community, and then you contacted a member of the community's therapist to interfere with her mental health care during one of the most critical times of her life. No one made up that rule. No one made you create a community with these rules. You did that. And then just like your marriage, you decided, fuck it. We ball. What do you mean? You and your audience don't actually want thoughtful discourse on infidelity. You want punishment. You want adulterers to suffer, to beg for forgiveness, to wallow in shame, not because they harmed anyone. Okay, so we're still in denial that cheating causes harm, I guess. That's crazy. But because they dared to invalidate a betrayed spouse's narcissistic sense of entitlement to lifelong sexual exclusivity. So is it a narcissistic sense of entitlement to believe that your client's information should be protected by other clients? I'm just wondering, because it's my understanding that when two people marry each other and become spouses, they are mutually agreeing, mutually consenting to certain boundaries that they allegedly both respect. I'm not sure how making a mutual agreement with another person, such as terms of service, and then expecting them to abide by that agreement is narcissistic. But you know what's really funny about that is, remember how freaking triggered Arias and Chelsea both get when called a narcissist? And yet here we are, full fucking circle, by your own logic. By their own logic, it would literally be narcissistic for Chelsea to think that Kristen owes her anything. So how are we here? How are we even here right now? This is absolutely insane and unhinged. That's what this is really about. People who get cheated on love to paint themselves as victims, but they're not. They were not robbed of anything. Their partner simply made a personal choice for themselves, not to hurt them, but to fulfill their own emotional and physical needs. So are we just pretending that STDs don't exist? Like, let's just be very real about the situation of cheating. Are we just pretending that STDs are not regularly and rampantly spread through the act of infidelity? Are we just honestly pretending that, like, let's pretend that it's honestly a betrayed spouse's own responsibility of whether or not they choose to be emotionally hurt by their spouse's betrayal. Let's just pretend that that's their choice of whether or not to be completely heartbroken and devastated and have trust issues and PTSD. Let's pretend. Are they also responsible for their entire pH balance being disrupted and getting bacterial infections and chlamydia and potentially even worse STDs such as HIV, which can turn into AIDS? That's not harm to you if a spouse comes home and gives his wife fucking AIDS because he was finding himself? This is the most delusional community of people and one of the most harmful, evil communities of people that exists, in my opinion. Sorry if that's not your preferred definition. Kai, thank you for the 5, says, I wanted other women at first. When I only wanted her, she divorced me. How does that work? I don't know what to do, so I just ignore everything. Wait, I'm confused. Are you saying that you were, like, trying to open the marriage, and then finally you were like, okay, I'm done trying to do that, and she was like, well, I'm out by now? Because honestly, I would get it if that was the case. Not to, like, take your 5 and then, like, punch you in the gut over it, but if I'm understanding your comment the way I think I'm understanding it, that's, maybe I'm not understanding it correctly. This is just so crazy. And this is exactly why The Other Woman and the Wife is such an important podcast. It gives a voice to the people who are never allowed to speak, the people who are constantly dehumanized, vilified, and told they deserve nothing but scorn. She's acting like it's so black and white. Like every time someone is like, well, I've cheated in the past, that everybody just starts immediately like dumping out milkshakes on them. Like, dude, I have admitted to you guys that I have cheated in the past. Not on TJ, but in a past relationship. And that's how I learned that cheating is not for me, because I was so overwrought with guilt over it and cried so much. But you guys didn't immediately unfollow me because of that, which kind of shows we all do perfectly understand nuance when it comes to infidelity. We get that it's complex. No one's asking for you to literally be crucified. We just want you to take basic accountability and admit that what you did was wrong. And then maybe, just maybe, not try to create an entire community where you enable some of the most depraved behavior I've ever fucking heard of and rage bait betrayed spouses, re-traumatizing them for your own monetary gain. That's all people are asking. We're not saying you're not allowed to talk about it. We're not saying you're not allowed to have any freaking spaces where you're like, oh, I'm in the middle of an affair and I'm still navigating it and I have all these complex emotions. Bro, any therapist will help you with that. Literally any therapist will happily help you in a way where they have been taught so many viable options, and you're actually HIPAA protected. There's no one's she's not gonna, like, the therapist is not going to dox you online or put you in a position to be doxed online. There's so many benefits to not joining an affair community that is now virally hated. Okay, so that's not what anybody's saying. But again, they like want to be such martyrs, even acting like betrayed spouses are these narcissistic, evil people who just want to be victims. Nope, I can promise you, every single person who has ever been cheated on didn't want it. I know some of you might be thinking, oh, what about people with cuckold fantasies? That if they were cheated on, still not part of the fantasy, okay? Because they still didn't even get to be involved in it. They wanted to be involved. You know what I'm saying? Oh God, I need more water. They go on to say, instead of mindlessly repeating the same tired narrative that cheaters are evil, maybe you should actually listen to them. Maybe you should recognize that love, in all its forms, including infidelity, is a good thing. People should not be shamed for pursuing what makes them happy. This logic is literally insane. She's basically saying as long as it makes you happy, you should be allowed to do it, which I don't think I need to really explain to you what a slippery slope that is. Like, imagine me being like, you should recognize that emotions in all their forms deserve to be celebrated, even intimidating, threatening anger, even emotionally manipulating tears. Like, if that's what makes people happy, they should be allowed to get in your face and scream at you to the point that you're extremely stressed out and it's legally considered domestic violence. They should be allowed to do that if it makes them happy. Your entire video is just another attempt to reinforce outdated moral dogma, but the world is moving forward, whether you like it or not. Is it though? Is it? People are rejecting the toxic possessive idea that a relationship's value is determined by sexual exclusivity. I mean, yes, like, people are agreeing with that. Like, no one's here to disagree with that. You can have a fulfilling, loving, long-term relationship where there is not sexual exclusivity. It's called ethical non-monogamy. And the thing that makes it ethical is the fact that they tell each other we're not going to be sexually exclusive. It's called being single. Dude, people have long been living lives where they have relationships without sexual exclusivity. Being single has existed since the dawn of time. The problem comes when you tell a person, hey, let's promise each other sexual exclusivity, and then you don't. You don't have to promise that, though. Like, really, no one's making you. No amount of finger wagging or performative outrage from you or your audience is going to change that. So now our outrage isn't even real. It's performative. Now we're not even really mad about it. Pick a lane. Edit. Furthermore, she's not done yet. I'd like to amend my comment with this post I found on r/the other woman, written by Jaded Caterpillar 786, in response to they never choose the OW, which stands for other woman. Oh, and let me tell you, this is a trigger point for Chelsea. Ooh, she has hated this for years, since the beginning of her content. It used to be in her Mythbusters playlist before she took it all down, was she hates the myth that the husband never leaves for the affair partner. She hates that because that's what her whole platform is based off of, is she's selling this happy ending that you can get picked. It happened for me. It took 5 fucking years of breadcrumbs and living under a blanket, but he finally settled on me. Yeah, maybe it was because his wife finally left him and he wasn't able to juggle us both anymore, but you can end up the consolation prize if you hold out hope long enough and continue on for an entire decade of having literally no self-respect or respect for another person's marital union. You can eventually get the happy ending I have, and I can sell it to you with my masterclass and this quarterly membership that you pay for. Like, and an amazing super chat, by the way. Oh my God, Kristen, don't be giving me your money, dude, okay? I have your GoFundMe linked in this video. I'm gonna go give that right back to you, you know. But yeah, you may have noticed we have a very special guest in the chat watching. A very special guest who is on our board. Okay, let's keep reading. Everyone's like, hi, Kristen. Is it the Kristen? Maybe. Kristen Jacobs is a very common name, okay? It could possibly be. Okay, so yeah, this is the narrative Chelsea freaking hates. She hates the narrative that you have no chance as a side piece. She's really trying to sell that you do. You can get in there like swimwear, Tiger. You too can bag yourself a certified cheater, okay? You can get picked. So this is this post that was allegedly written by someone else, which, by the way, Chelsea has already been cold clocked as being an active member in these other women communities. I don't think that she's as publicly on Reddit with her full face anymore, but there are people who allegedly used to see Chelsea in there all the time as the other woman and the wife, talking about some very dark parts of her affair that are not happily ever after, okay? This may apply to Chelsea, it may not, but, you know, abortions aren't exactly anybody's happily ever after. But that may or may not have been posted to Reddit under an account called The Other Woman and the Wife. May or may not be, doesn't exist anymore. But I would just say, you know, probably not the happy ending. But anyway, this person goes on. They never choose the other woman. They already chose us, as in they literally chose a relationship with us and would have continued in that relationship for an unforeseeable future. There are women here who are with their married man for 8 years, etc. That's a whole ass relationship, ma'am. It's very similar to the time frame that Chelsea has been with Stan. Very curious, but go on. They generally aren't choosing their wife over the other woman. They're choosing their life over the other woman, wife, kids, family, history, employment, social circle, status, etc. It isn't surprising. So this person is coping by saying, like, they're not picking her over me. They're picking their obligations. That's all. But they're definitely not picking their wife over me. That's a crazy thought. Choosing said life and its obligations over a new life with the other woman doesn't negate their love for us or the significance of the relationship we shared. In most cases, it would actually be pretty shocking if they did choose the other woman. Let's be real. Okay. So you just said it's shocking for a married man to choose his mistress during your thesis about why it's not true that the married men do not choose the mistress. Okay. Many married partners would prefer to keep a secondary relationship if they weren't shamed into upholding vows and institutions they happily and repeatedly disregarded. Who made those vows? Who entered those institutions? Was it at Pew Pew Point? Probably not. Over and over again. Just like many other women would comfortably continue in a secondary relationship with them and not be chosen. Because not every woman wants or needs to be a man's everything. See polyamory and non-monogamy. Yes, which is what we would recommend to people who are not capable of monogamy. Not being chosen following D-Day. Again, there's a lot of terms that these cheaters use. D-Day means discovery day. Either when the betrayed spouse finds out that they've been getting cheated on, or when the cheater decides to come clean. D-Day is often the end of the affair for one reason or the other, such as in the case with the chart here was Kristen is the one who discovered the affair, and that is when it ended because the husband was like, shit, I'm caught. This is not worth it, right? But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes discovery day is simply when the affair was discovered, not necessarily when it ends, okay? But this person, the way that they talk in past tense, I actually think the person they're quoting is not Chelsea, just another cheater, because they're referring to their relationship as being in a past tense. And from the clues we're getting, it seems like this person was dumped upon their affair discovery, but is now still choosing to do what Chelsea did, which is make the affair their entire personality, even after it's technically over, by continuing to post in the other woman subreddit and continuing to curate these theories that, well, I still got picked in the end. Like, I might not be with him anymore. He might still be with his wife, but like, I'm still picked. You can't call me unpicked. Okay. I don't say this to be redundant. No one can convince me that this man didn't love me, or that the love we discovered wasn't as profound as it was, or that he wasn't genuinely unhappy, deeply unfulfilled, fallen out of love, and hopeless in his relationship. You will never convince me of that, even though he has literally dumped me. It has been years since I've seen, heard from, or talked to him, and he has continued to be married to his wife, even long past his children have become adult age and moved out, and he has every opportunity to actually have a clean divorce. You can't convince me that he wasn't miserable with that old hag and would have preferred me anyway. I mean, yeah, you're probably right. We probably can't convince you. That's true. He truly saw himself fulfilled in a life with me, but D-Day arrived, and he's with his SO, and I have been erased like it never happened. But you're picked. That's what picked looks like to you? That's what being chosen looks like, is him still being with his spouse and you being erased. Crazy work, y'all. Point being, even a married man as unfulfilled as he was, and as desperately in love with his other woman as he was, shut things down, just to be faithful to his significant other, because this is not a competition the other woman can really win. We simply didn't get there first. They didn't make a commitment to us or promise themselves to us for life. I'm not saying married men don't love their wives or actually want to reconcile their marriage. They wouldn't reconcile if they saw no value in doing so. But everybody and their mama wants to come for the other woman, seemingly more so than they do the married man who betrayed their spouse. You can shame us, devalue and dehumanize us, share our posts and ridicule us to make yourself feel superior and try to counteract your insecurities. Yeah, we're the insecure ones. This post hasn't been dripping with insecurity at all. But we aren't the cause of your troubled institution. We're just a symptom. There are over 154,000 members in the adultery subreddit, for Christ's sake. What is the fallacy where you take a large number and conflate that to mean like, see, this means we're doing something right? Because whatever it is, Chelsea uses that all the time. She'll be like, well, if my work wasn't really life-changing and profound and healing and for good, then why are so many people watching it? Like, because hate views are a thing? Because rage bait does sell? Because we literally have the studies that show that the videos that are typically the highest performing either have a high sense of wholesomeness or give the viewer a high sense of anxiety. And so yours are more likely falling into the latter camp. Most people who are watching your content aren't like, man, this is so wholesome that women who are actively cheating on their husbands with other married men can find a community. No, it's the rage response. It's the anxiety response. You are playing on the raw nerves and triggers of tons of betrayed spouses, and you know that. And you know that's what you're doing, so I don't know why we're pretending it's anything else. There may be a lot of members of your community. A lot of them are people who hate watch, who are morbidly fascinated. Just because there are a lot of cheaters doesn't make it okay or valid. It's still a terrible thing to do. Like, accept that you're non-monogamous and then start living your best life to ethically align with your sexuality. Are you serious? Like, let the monogamous people go. They can find someone else who's monogamous. Like, you just don't want to have to pay for a divorce. Just say that. But you having to deal with the consequences of your actions doesn't make the person you're betraying of not a real victim. This is crazy work. It's become evident that the people, predominantly women, who take particular pleasure in hating the other women are motivated by underlying/internalized misogyny, which is why a sub called Adultery Hate has made us its exclusive target. You guys know I love that sub. Love Adultery Hate. Shout out to the Adultery Hate subreddit. Those are some of the funniest women you will ever meet in your life. And some of the funniest dudes. There's definitely dudes in there. But this person is right. It is predominantly women, for sure. I think men just have a different way of handling it. I think when men face betrayal, they're just not as good about forming communities and talking about it as women are. But once men start getting better about that, they're definitely going to make fun of you guys just as much as the rest of us are. It's also like, way to Streisand affect your enemy. Like, most people in the world have no idea that r/adultery hate exists. But there you are, like, hey, if you want to know a place to continue hating opinions like mine, here's the place to do it. Like, okay, trust me, I love that place. That's so hilarious, dude. So now, making fun of cheaters is just misogyny. Don't you think that perpetuating spaces where women can continue to serve men by improving their OPSEC and continuing their affairs so that a man can have multiple women that he's lying to, don't you think that might be perpetuating the patriarchy a little bit more than saying women deserve to know if they're being cheated on so that their health can be more protected? It's also the reason the title of the other woman or mistress exists without a counterpart to begin with. The vast majority of adultery hate is reserved for the other woman. And why? Because on some level you accept that a man engages in affairs because he is a man, and men hold the power. But a woman who engages with that man is a lesser woman. She's dirty, she's vile, she's unpure, she's scandalous, she's deluded. She's a man's toy. She's desperate, she can't find a man to choose her, etc., etc. Like, here's the thing, y'all. We hate the men, too. We're definitely angry about it, but you, the women, are predominantly the ones coming on here and bragging about doing it. I'm sorry, but I've never seen a page called The Other Man, and it's a dude talking about all the things your wife did while she was sucking my dick and married to you. I've never seen that. If I did, if any one of us, dude, you really think that when a man makes a video talking about how he loves to cheat, he doesn't receive hate? Exhibit A for Andrew Tate. Hello? You think Andrew Tate is well received by women when he says things like it's in men's nature to cheat, but women are whores when they do it? Largely not well received. Largely arrested, largely loses sponsorships. What do you mean? In reality, the other woman is a symptom of a failing, dishonest, dying, or dead marriage. Again, r/cake eaters could not exist if that was predominantly the case. There are just a lot of people who are happy but want other people that they find attractive. That's also human nature. Just because it's in human nature and continues to happen throughout history and happens in way too high of numbers doesn't mean that we should stop shaming people for it or that it suddenly stops being wrong. God, I know. We haven't even gotten through the first comment, but we're almost there. You're seeing why I had to share this now, right? I went down this rabbit hole, and so must you now. Adultery will never stop, and married men will always be the perpetrator of betraying their union, as will married women. It's weird that she's like, you guys have internalized misogyny, and then she's like, men cheat. So do wives. You probably just wouldn't have the first-hand experience because no one wants to make you a wife. But you will disproportionately hate us because misogyny convinces you to forgive men, and because the alternative is admitting those vows didn't mean shit at the end of the day. Okay? We're not these inherently scandalous women who aspire to wreck the homes of unsuspecting wives everywhere. We're regular women, worthy women, who have formed a connection with men who authentically love and or desire us. Men who, for whatever reason, were not satisfied in their partnership. And it is that dissatisfaction or lack of fulfillment that led them to stray, not the other woman. It's your fault, wives and husbands who get cheated on. You weren't doing your job. What did you expect me to do? Okay? That is not the threat to your sacred union. It is internal, not external. Quote, they never choose the other woman, but it's the very fact that they chose us that keeps you stalking this subreddit each and every day. You can call us low-hanging fruit, but the man you chose to marry was desperate to gobble us up. Nom, nom, nom. Like, what is with mistresses and this, like, super hyper pick-me need to be like as antagonistic as possible? Like, do I think that the person who wrote this is Chelsea? No, I think that they are a person who to this day remains desperately unpicked, who has never had a tan line on their ring finger in their life, who probably doesn't even get high quality dates, just a lot of Netflix and chills, but is now using the fact that she once got to be someone's side piece until they weren't as concrete evidence that she's a worthy woman. I don't think that it's the same person as Chelsea, this person they're quoting, but they all seem to share this inability to ever move past their affair, no matter what. The affair just becomes their entire personality. And I don't know if it's like bred out of trauma, because obviously being the side piece is incredibly painful. I'm not gonna deny you that. It's gotta really suck hiding under a fucking rock when all you want to do is just authentically date someone, okay? But like, that doesn't make you the victim, unfortunately. But they spend their entire lives trying to become the victims of their own affair. And the reason that it becomes such an envelopment of their personality for so long is because it takes a really long time to craft that narrative. I mean, Chelsea's built an entire business off of doing it, and she's still finding brand new ways to self-victimize for being a cruel, antagonistic, rage-baiting bully. She's still finding ways that she's the victim of that to this day. It's just a very common trope. And these other women really are just like the most pick-me of all pick-me. Like, when I first started hearing the term pick-me, I kind of just saw it used in like men's spaces whenever a woman dared get involved, is like whenever women are like, I don't know, I think he has a point. I think men kind of are being a little bit mistreated, and maybe we shouldn't say things like I hate all men. They're like, well, you're a pick me. Like, I've gotten it for the stupidest reason, so I used to think it was a stupid word, but I've always thought pick me referred to a woman who literally goes out of her way to behave negatively, either against another woman, at another woman, maybe behind her back, in hopes of literally getting picked over her. And no one does that better than these other women in this insane cheating coven, okay? Now, all of that, all of this, okay, was just the first comment. So you know, if I went down the rabbit hole and I found all of the Arias ones, you know that I found all of these too. And we just have to go over how insane this is. Okay, let's start. All right, let's start the PowerPoint. I'm gonna go ahead and make myself just a little bit smaller here as we react. Maybe I'll crop this down just a little bit. Oh wait, I also have to make this a bit smaller so you guys can see everything. Okay. Let us begin. So one of the first places that I saw the comment was in response to this one, where a user says, I don't think she actually believes she's in the right or anything. She's just farming engagement with her antics, which a lot of people honestly thought, like a lot of people legitimately thought that Chelsea's content was just satire. A lot of people followed because they literally thought that it was like a hilarious satire page and making fun of cheaters. Other people are like, this isn't even genuine. It's literally just rage bait for profit. All fair theories. Scrunchy Howard, our novelist here, replies, your comment is nothing more than a lazy dismissal of Chelsea's work and her perspective. Instead of engaging with what she actually says, you're resorting to the tired and predictable accusation that she's just farming engagement. That's a convenient way to avoid acknowledging that she provides a space for people who have been vilified and dehumanized for their choices. People who are searching for understanding rather than shame. Chelsea runs support groups for those who have experienced infidelity firsthand. People who have been in complex, painful situations that society refuses to acknowledge with nuance. She creates a space where people can speak openly about their experiences without fear of being demonized. That is meaningful work, and it takes far more courage to foster those conversations than it does to sit on the sidelines and dismiss them as antics. Chelsea, who is definitely not me, is so much braver than you. The reality is that infidelity is not the cartoonish evil that people like you want it to be. Yeah, we just want infidelity to be evil. We just want there to be more evil in the world. It's not you creating rage bait, recognizing things that absolutely validly trigger people. It's us. We're the problem. We just want to be angry. We just wake up every day like, what can I find to make me angry today? We didn't want peaceful marriages. We just wanted to find infidelity and just create it out of thin air and make it happen to ourselves. It's a deeply human experience. Yeah, raw dogging your boss is a deeply spiritual thing. You wouldn't understand because you probably have never raw dogged your boss in an open freezer, okay? You wouldn't know. It's full of emotional depth, longing, pain, and difficult choices. Okay, so the pain exists for the cheaters, but not the spouse. When the pain exists for the betrayed spouse, they're just being narcissistic and entitled. Okay. Chelsea doesn't shy away from that complexity. And that's exactly why so many people resonate with her podcast and support groups. Okay, Chelsea literally just said that in all of the years she's been doing this, they just hit 1,600 total downloads. 1,600 downloads. Now, I don't know how much people get paid for podcasts. I haven't... Oh, my battery died. Hold on, let me fix it. One sec. My face will be back in just a moment. You guys know, 1 o'clock is always battery die o'clock. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, like, how much podcasts typically make, but it might have been 16,000. It might have been 16,000 views. I think I was wrong. I stand corrected. I think she said it was 16,000 downloads. Okay. And so I Googled, like, well, how much do people typically make with podcasts, because I know about like ad revenue with most platforms, but I haven't formally started a podcast yet. Will be soon though. Will be soon. And it said something like you average like $50 per 1,000 views. And if that's true, that's deeply pathetic. And this business, there's like no way this business is actually profiting, because that means that over the course of the several years that she has also been allegedly paying a team, though her own team admits that she doesn't really pay them much. I believe the term they used was barely when discussing pay, while also paying a full team for this podcast. She's made like maybe $500 over the course of numerous years. So I don't really know if so many people are resonating, especially because Chelsea seemed like very surprised to see that the downloads even were that high. Especially like, I mean, we just looked at the YouTube video, 37 views over the course of 48 hours is your channel's failing. Like, if it was not for her having a rich husband who's afraid to leave her because now he's already so locked in with child support and alimony payments for 3 kids who still have a long ways to being 18, so he'd rather more likely just continue to live a double life so that he doesn't have to go through yet another very expensive divorce. Like, if it was not for him, there is no way that this podcast could even possibly stay afloat. Not even on donations, dude. Crazy. But this person is clearly, who's not Chelsea, believes in her podcast, believes that it's just getting tons of views here. If you're not interested in fine, but don't reduce her to some cynical caricature just because you refuse to consider that her perspective and the perspectives of the people she supports might have validity. That's not skepticism. That's just intellectual laziness. Has anybody else who saw the Araya stream, like, are you also seeing similar themes, similar vibes here? Like, in the Arias comments, I remember them constantly saying things like, it's okay for you to think that Chelsea is like maybe a little bit selfish, or maybe it's not your style, but you can't do this. And, it's really okay if you, don't like Chelsea, but she's still not the things you're saying she is. Like, anyway, we have a lot more of these. I think a lot more screenshots here. In response, dude, this one pissed me off. I'm so sorry. You guys are about to get like so triggered by this one. In response to a comment someone left saying, I've seen the devastating trauma of infidelity in my own mother. She was faithful, endured everything, and was still cheated on in the most disgusting way. When mom called dad to confront him, the other woman picked up and began mocking her, saying things like, don't you know he's not your man anymore? This woman knew he had kids, by the way. I was there, paralyzed, when I saw my mother cry. After that, mom told dad that he either comes home, tries to earn our trust again, and becomes the father and husband he ought to be, and she will forgive him, or he can pack his things and leave. He left that very day. For years, I saw my mother struggle trusting people again. Seeing someone excuse this kind of behavior is disgusting. It awakens some old repressed rage within me, which I think is how a lot of us feel. It's like, even when you're not the first-hand victim of infidelity, even when it's not you being cheated on, like even just second-hand experiencing other people's infidelity is enough for you to reasonably understand that you hate it, and your hate comes from a valid place of like, how dare you betray me and my mom, right? That not to say like, oh well, you're just an entitled narcissist for being upset about it, is actually crazy work. To which Scrunchy Howard, who is not Chelsea, says, Julia. And God, there's just something that also pisses me off about her, like, addressing her like she's a child, which is also something Chelsea does very often. She's extremely patronizing the entire Jubilee panel. Like, every time she thinks someone makes a, like, breakthrough because they say something that even marginally agrees with her stance, she'll be like, good for you. I knew you had it in you. Like, very much stuff like this. Whenever she's responding to comments, let's say someone named Steve says like, cheating is only for cowards. Chelsea loves to respond by being like, Steve, the reason that you think that cheating is for cowards is because you're not integrated. Like, she very much has this attitude. So just starting off, let's read it and rage. Julia, your mother handled the situation the wrong way. Yes, your father cheated on your mother, but she didn't handle it very well. Instead of working through what happened with self-awareness and maturity, she chose to frame your father's infidelity as a personal attack against her, rather than a reflection of his own needs and choices. And worse, she dragged you into it. She dragged the child. It's not like the child would have been affected by her family falling apart no matter what. It's the mother's fault the child's involved. Let's be honest. A healthy parent would never weaponize their pain to traumatize their own child. Yeah, a healthy parent, like the cheating dad. Your mother's choice to involve you in her suffering, to use you as an emotional crutch, and to make you witness her distress in such an intimate way was unfair to you. She wasn't protecting you. She was poisoning you against your own father. That was her decision, and it was an abusive one. I mean, look, you guys know me. I'm the freaking Dadvocate. I talk about parental alienation all the time. There are absolutely parents who alienate their children from the father, demonize the father to the child. In a situation where the child happened to witness the dad abruptly coming and packing his shit and leaving to go be with his mistress, there's no evidence that shows us that the mother actively poisoned the daughter against the dad. When a kid finds out my parent cheated, they're probably going to be pissed. Like, it's going to take a lot of work to get the kid to not be angry at the parent. You're just going to blame the mom. Your father leaving that day wasn't proof that he never loved her. It was proof that he wasn't willing to subject himself to the toxic and suffocating environment she was creating. We're making a lot of assumptions here. Like, she is just outright like, I know it was the mom's fault he cheated. She was doing something wrong. I know it. Oh my God. Instead of handling the situation with dignity and grace, she gave him an ultimatum that forced him into a corner. And let's be real, her words weren't an invitation to work through things. They were a demand for submission. They were literally an invitation to work through things. It was literally, I will work with you if you come home. That's such an option. That is a huge option. Like, you can call it an ultimatum. It's a very fair boundary. It's literally, she's doing the thing that Chelsea literally says is what handling it with dignity and grace is supposed to do. That when you find out someone's cheating on you, you should give them the option to leave you. That's what she did. She was literally like, listen, you just can't have both. You don't get to be with me and cheat on me. So if you have to cheat on me, please leave. That's such a valid, fair, graceful way to handle it. I don't think she could have handled it any more gracefully. Oh, sorry, she cried about it. Sorry, her daughter happened to catch her having trust issues. I guess she was supposed to be more of a stoic Stonewall. The exact type of behaviors that we teach to men to keep them trapped in patriarchy that you were just opposed to. And let's be real. Oh yeah, I already read that part. She wanted him to grovel and accept blame, to deny his own happiness, just to uphold an image of a perfect marriage. And let's talk about the other woman. I have spoken to plenty of mistresses. How have you received that opportunity? Where have you gotten the opportunity to speak with plenty of mistresses? It's almost like you either own or are part of a community in which to find such other mistresses. A place that Chelsea says really doesn't exist anywhere outside of her community. So it's almost like you're either Chelsea herself or one of her few but loud flying monkeys. Interesting. And they are not the monsters that bitter betrayed spouses make them out to be. She throws that in as if betrayed spouses have no reason to be bitter. This is literally some of the most insane slop I have ever come across. They are thoughtful, kind, and awfully deeply conflicted people. The idea that your father's mistress would just mock your mother so cruelly out of nowhere, that sounds like your mother's version of events. A version designed to make herself look like the pure, blameless victim, while dehumanizing the woman your father truly connected with. This is literally so unhinged. She's like, oh, wow, yeah, so you were standing there mortified, overhearing a conversation where a woman was being an absolute bitch to you, while in the presence of your cheating father who was doing nothing to mediate the situation. Your mom must have caused it, though. She must have done something. You say you've carried this rage for years, but what if your mother's pain and bitterness weren't yours to inherit? What if you just simply stopped? You say that you've had anxiety for years. Have you ever considered just not worrying? Dummy. What if instead of being raised in an environment of resentment, you'd grown up with a healthy co-parenting situation where your father's mistress played a role in your life as a stepmom? What if you just loved the cheater? What if you just loved us? This woman definitely was not accepted by her married man's children. What if instead of making you witness her pain, your mother had allowed you to form your own relationship with your father, one untainted by her emotional baggage? Your father's affair didn't destroy your family. Your mother's inability to handle it with maturity did. If she had accepted reality instead of clinging to the idea that marriage is some unbreakable contract of ownership, your childhood could have been very different. You might have grown up seeing love as something fluid, something real, rather than something that must be hoarded and controlled. Maybe it's time to ask yourself, who really hurt you? Was it your father who simply followed his heart? Or was it your mother who forced you to carry the weight of her suffering? your mother should have just like dealt with it, honestly. Like, who was she to give him only two options instead of the option of like letting him do whatever he wanted? You could have had a normal childhood where you grow up understanding that a marriage is one in which your spouse is allowed to cheat on you, lie to you, betray every vow and contract that you make in unison together, holding you to a standard that they do not at all hold themselves to, so that when you grow up, you can find yourself just as manipulatable as your mother. You could have had a normal childhood like that, but your mother unfortunately decided to stand up for herself and let you see it when she could have just hidden the affair and covered for her cheating ex like a graceful, dignified woman would do. Okay. What the fuck are we even reading right now? So, in response to that, this had no likes, by the way, but the comment very immediately beneath it is, "Oh, hey, Chelsea, didn't take you long to find this video." Why are you in every comments replies? And then this original poster said, "I hope whoever this is being ironic." So even they're like giving some potential credibility. Maybe it's not Chelsea. But they responded this by saying, "I wish I were being ironic, but my perspective was shaped by real life experiences that I simply couldn't ignore." This is a common trend with Chelsea that you will see in the Jubilee panel, where she talks about how she talks about it in the Jubilee panel. She talks about it across her own content, how people who judge cheaters, they're just speaking from a place of emotion or religious dogma. And if they were actually ever involved firsthand in cheating, then they would understand. She also like regularly uses the fact that she had an affair as like this concrete evidence, or like, I don't know, almost like credentials. She's like, well, I had an affair, so I know what I'm talking about, and I'm allowed to talk about every affair. So just a similar pattern. I've seen people who were cheated on and act like complete monsters. Like that time I came across a post on a reconciliation subreddit where a betrayed spouse openly admitting to essaying his unfaithful wife. And instead of condemning him, the community cheered him on. Girl, what the f are you talking about? So you're going to use this one example of a situation that I could not doubt anymore actually happened. You're saying that in a reconciliation subreddit, someone actually came in there and was like, my wife cheated on me, so you know what? I got her back by her. And you're telling me everyone in the comments was like, yes, yes, King, you say your wife, she cheated on you, so she deserves it. Of all the things that have never happened, that never happened the most. You made that up. You made up that horrifying story so that you could try to act like all betrayed spouses revenge essay their cheating spouses? What point are you even trying to make here? This is just keeps getting so much more and more unhinged. What? That was the moment I realized something was seriously wrong with the way people talk about infidelity. If that ever actually happened, which it fucking didn't. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say, like, it did not. I'm going to offer that a 0% chance of ever happening. Even if that did happen, that's not the way people are talking about infidelity. That it was one horrific encounter where I guess someone allegedly endorsed essay. That is not a common conversation. And if I like scoured Reddit, I am incredibly doubtful I would ever be able to replicate such a thread. That does not exist, dude. The level of self-righteous cruelty and entitlement in those spaces was impossible to excuse. On the flip side, so wait. In spaces where betrayed spouses are talking about, let's say that there is a space where betrayed spouses are talking about getting revenge. That does happen. I will say it does happen a lot where a person is cheated on and they discuss potential ways to get revenge. Oh my God, yes. If that's what we're talking about, that's all over Reddit. You'll see stuff like, am I the a-hole for going after every dollar my cheating ex-husband has? And typically the responses are, no, you're not the a-hole. Go get your bag, sis. Like, he cheated on you. Stuff like that. There's definitely people who want revenge. I don't encourage revenge. I don't think that much good can come from revenge. But you're saying that it's so messed up for these people to say that with self-righteous cruelty. I, at this time, would like to stress again that Olivia has never once denied that she took binoculars and used them to spy on Kristen and Jacob's sexual activity from her backyard, and that she has never denied using her vibrators, and that she has never denied that she did indeed post these things regularly throughout the other woman community. She has never denied that she posted pictures of Kristen and her children. Olivia has never denied that she also asked the community to compare their appearances to prove that she thinks that she's hotter. None of these things have ever been denied. Okay? That is the type of community that allegedly exists behind a closed-off paywall and under strict, tight, allegedly enforceable contracts. Dude, I forgot to tell you guys before we continue, the reason that it was decided that it's going to public jury trial, by the way, which I find very interesting. You can go and read the document yourself. It's extremely long-winded and hard to understand, but my understanding of it is that the reason that arbitration was denied, which Kristen was asking for, and Kristen even used a part of the terms of service where Chelsea herself wrote in that if there's any conflicts between members, it's to go to arbitration. But Chelsea denied that. She wanted the public jury trial. Well, the court denied Kristen's request for arbitration, choosing to allow it to go to public jury trial. And my understanding of the reason for why they denied it is because they could not find an enforceable contract between Chelsea and Kristen. Either because there's a discrepancy between contracts and something new may become produced during discovery, or not, if it's settled behind closed doors. But if there's no contract between Chelsea and Kristen, then Kristen didn't do anything. And potentially, Chelsea didn't do anything. Though I would still argue that the emotional damage bit would still hopefully be achievable, given the whole contacting the therapists bit. But I just find that to be a very interesting way to go into a trial about tortious interference, is to go into it with like, well, I don't really know if they even have a contract. This whole thing is based around a contract. They better have a fucking contract here somewhere. But we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. Either way, the cheaters want their rules to be followed. Ain't that some shit? On the flip side, I've had conversations with cheaters. Let me move this over a little bit. It's awkward. On the flip side, I've had conversations with cheaters, people who are demonized endlessly, and they were some of the kindest, most self-reflective people I've ever met. Yeah, because you're not the one being cheated on by them, dude. What do you mean? They weren't villains. They weren't heartless. They were human beings navigating difficult, complicated emotions in an imperfect circumstance. They were thoughtful, self-aware, and often deeply torn about their actions. Why would they be torn if they didn't do anything wrong? So no, I'm not being ironic. I just refuse to blindly accept the narrative that cheaters are evil and betrayed spouses are perpetual victims, because I've seen too much evidence to the contrary. If that challenges your worldview, maybe it's worth asking yourself why that makes you so uncomfortable. Guys, why are we so uncomfortable right now? Are we all the problem, or is this bitch just crazy? What do you guys think? Vote in the chat. Are we the problem? Are all of us collectively, the ones responding to this poorly, the problem? Or is it possible that this is an insane way to think about infidelity. Damn. They once again submit yet another disserfuckintation on someone else's comment who says, forgiving yourself does not mean being proud of what you've done. This person, who's definitely not Chelsea, says, you're completely misrepresenting what Chelsea is saying. She's not advocating for a lack of remorse for the pain caused. Didn't you literally just say that cheating is not something that you ever have to apologize for? Didn't you She's advocating for self-acceptance and moving forward without shame. There's a huge difference between being proud of your personal growth and happiness versus being proud of the pain your past actions may have caused. Isn't that some I'm sorry if I hurt you ass bullshit? One key indicator of this is the way she refers to her first husband, rather than calling him her ex-husband in a dismissive or antagonistic way. This subtle but meaningful distinction suggests that she acknowledges and respects the role he played in her life. She isn't celebrating his discomfort. She's acknowledging that their marriage was part of her journey, but that journey ultimately led her to a love that was more fulfilling and authentic. What the hell? So because she says my first husband instead of my ex-husband, she's magically now not antagonistic? Because do I have some cringy dancing videos for you if you think she's not antagonistic, bud? Furthermore, the idea that someone must carry guilt forever just because society demands it is absurd. Infidelity is not some irredeemable sin. It's a deeply human action, often rooted in emotional needs, growth, and self-discovery. If someone finds true happiness, deep connection, and a more authentic love after an affair, why shouldn't they be proud of the outcome? Why should they be forced to wallow in guilt just to satisfy outdated notions of loyalty? Why am I getting so many spam calls right now? This is, I swear, Chelsea has like put my, nah, she would have to have my number first. I'm like, this is somehow Chelsea's fault. No, I'm kidding, but I am going to go ahead and put myself on Do Not Disturb right now. Damn, I am truly being like blasted. If I wasn't like so locked in on what we need to cover right now, I would take it and just fuck with them. I love fucking with spam calls. But yeah, outdated notions of loyalty. The notions of loyalty are perfectly dated to the loyalty contracts that you yourself set with your spouse. No one is expecting you to stay loyal to anybody that you yourself have not made a consensual pact with for loyalty. You're trying to blame everybody but yourself. What Chelsea is advocating for is healing, not the glorification of hurt, but people like you insist on distorting that. I can't think of the word distorting without thinking of Distortion and Ruby Frankie, who Chelsea has regularly reminded me of. Because you believe infidelity should be punished indefinitely, in reality, life moves forward, and people deserve the chance to embrace love, happiness, and self-acceptance without being shackled to societal shame forever. Someone else said people should be less forgiving to themselves, which this very much triggers this individual, and they respond, what makes you believe that someone's primary moral responsibility is to prioritize how others feel over their own well-being and self-perception? Are there situations where prioritizing one's own emotional and psychological needs over someone else's feelings would be justified? If prioritizing others' feelings should always come first, would you say that a victim of domestic violence should stay in an abusive marriage just to avoid hurting their partner? Should someone suppress their true identity to prevent upsetting their family? You know what's so crazy though is that Chelsea kind of does advocate for that, because she literally says herself, well, so many of the women that I coach have to cheat because their partners are telling them that they're going to harm them if they ever were to leave them. So you're saying that what they should do instead is have an affair and stay with that partner. It's funny because that's kind of what Chelsea says, is that it's actually fine to stay with an abusive partner as long as you're, I guess, having an affair. Should a person remain in a miserable, loveless marriage simply because their spouse would feel betrayed otherwise? At what point does a person have the right to choose their own happiness over someone else's emotions? And why should infidelity, an act often driven by unmet emotional needs, be treated any differently than any other form of personal self-preservation? Why shouldn't cheating on your wife for 5 years straight be treated the exact same thing as working out every day or eating an apple? You know, all of these things make you feel better about yourself. So really, what's the difference between rampantly spreading STIs and making yourself a fruit smoothie every morning? It's the same thing. We generally recognize that people are not obligated to sacrifice themselves to maintain someone else's comfort. So why is an unfulfilled person in a marriage shamed for prioritizing their emotional needs, especially when their actions aren't about harming their partner, but about seeking connection, fulfillment, and self-discovery? Because of the agreement to not do the thing. I hope that helps, right? Like, Chelsea, if you were the one making all the money in your marriage, which you're certainly not, if you were the one making all the money in your marriage and your husband was entirely reliant on you and you told him, hey, we can't spend all of this money or else we're going to have to sell our house, and he goes and spends all of the money because it makes him happy, you don't think he should have like accountability? You don't think he's not hurting you at all. He's just following his heart. He's just trying to seek connections and fulfillment and self-discovery. So it's literally fine. What? The person responds to Scrunchy Howard with, no, you misunderstand me. She looked after her own feelings enough. She needs to think about another person for once. What she doesn't need is to feel good about herself anymore. Can't wait until she finds out, because he's undoubtedly doing it already. Let's see how she acts like she's the victim here. I believe this is talking about like the inevitability that Stan is definitely, absolutely still leading multiple double lives and has probably never stopped cheating, which is my belief. There's absolutely no shot that Stan has not had an affair while being with Chelsea. Absolutely no shot in the world. Scrunchy responds, your response is based on the assumption that Chelsea, or anyone in her position, has been selfishly looking out for herself at the expense of others. Chelsea literally said in her Jubilee episode that she is her main priority, that me is the main thing she cares about. So like, if this person so desperate to defend Chelsea actually knew about things Chelsea was posting, they would know that yes, Chelsea is inherently selfish per her own definition at the expense of others, yes. But that's not actually what's happening. You assume that because she sought fulfillment outside of her marriage, she must be entirely self-centered and incapable of caring about others. That's a black and white view that ignores reality. It's crazy no one even said that. Like, no one said she's incapable of caring about others. We're just saying she has an accountability issue, which, yeah, consistently true. People in affairs, whether they're the betrayed spouse, the wayward spouse, or the affair partner, experience immense emotional turmoil. Sorry, I choked on my own spit. Adulterers are not sociopaths who never think about the pain their actions might cause. On the contrary, many of them agonize over it. They weigh their needs against their obligations. They struggle with guilt. They think about their partners, their children, their families, often too much. They work. You know what adulterers' real problem is? They care too much, these cheaters. They spend years, sometimes decades, prioritizing everyone else's happiness over their own. And when they finally choose themselves, suddenly that's when people demand they start caring about others. Hypocrisy. What you're really saying is that her emotions don't matter at all because you've already judged her as unworthy of self-care. Cheating is self-care. You don't want balance. You want punishment. You want shame. You want her to suffer, not because it would actually undo the past, but because it would satisfy your own sense of justice. But here's the thing, buckaroo. Forcing someone to suffer doesn't help anyone heal. It doesn't rebuild trust. It doesn't foster understanding. It just fuels resentment and perpetuates misery. And let's be clear, feeling good about yourself is not the same as refusing to take accountability. She can acknowledge the pain caused, reflect on her choices, and still believe that she deserves happiness moving forward. That's not selfish. That's called growth. I've said this before, but imagining someone spending hours, and I mean hours, just like Arias returned to the comment section month after month after month to write paragraphs and paragraphs defending Chelsea. This person was up literally all night last night for 24 hours straight. This person was commenting. Like, I'm sure we can even like time it out 14 hours ago, 2 hours ago, 12 hours ago, based on like the screenshots. I refuse to believe that a perfect stranger to Chelsea would stay up for 24 hours straight, endlessly defending Chelsea in the exact same I'm going to articulate my thoughts defending cheating using ChatGPT paragraphs way that Chelsea literally does. Tell Me a Story responds, wow, how can I think of someone hurting a bunch of people so they can have sex is selfish? Who cares if they're in turmoil? Just stop then. If you feel so damn bad about it, just stop. Nobody's making you do it. And in her case, she is taking no responsibility, blatantly blaming the wife, society, everyone but herself. If he's feeling good, doesn't mean she's not. Wait, yeah, if he's feeling good, doesn't mean she's not taking responsibility. Then where does she take responsibility? Nowhere once. Other people are starting to pick up on this. You seem to understand it a little too deeply. Follower detected. Scrunchy says, your entire argument boils down to just stop. This is one of Chelsea's biggest gripes as well. She's made countless videos on this. It's been in the Mythbusters of the whole idea of if you're not happy in your marriage and you have to cheat, just leave. She's always like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. People have to cheat. You don't understand. As if human emotions, relationships, and deep-seated needs are as simple as flipping a light switch. You talk about taking responsibility like it only ever means self-flagellation. I don't remember how to say this, but basically whipping yourself, self-flagellation, and groveling. But in reality, responsibility means owning your choices, including the choice to seek love, happiness, and fulfillment. Chelsea did take responsibility. She took responsibility of the fact that her husband wasn't doing enough and she had to have an affair. She took responsibility by getting extra side dick, okay? What do you mean she's not taking responsibility? She took responsibility of facilitating an entire 3-month-long affair and then facilitating another man's 5-year affair after that. What do you mean she's so responsible? Do you know how much responsibility it takes to be a professional side piece for 5 years? You don't even know her. You say, who cares if they're in turmoil? That right there tells me everything I need to know about you. That's another narcissist bingo card thing. They're like the same ones who are like, you can't judge an entire person based off of their curated social media, which only gives you fragments, is the same person who's going to go, oh yeah, this one sentence you said tells me everything I'll ever need to know about you. You judging me off of snippets you find online is crazy work, but that sentence that you just put, I already got your number, sis. You think that suffering is deserved simply because it makes you uncomfortable. You don't care about why people cheat. You don't care about their pain, their unmet needs, or the fact that most adulterers struggle with intense emotions. You just want someone to blame because it's easier than questioning whether the institutions you defend actually work. Chelsea defends these institutions. Chelsea is still married, isn't she? If she didn't defend the Institute of Marriage, why did she do it again? Why is she still married to Stan? I know why, but it begs the question. And let's be clear. Chelsea and others like her are taking responsibility. They're telling their stories and they're reflecting on their experiences and they're making choices that align with their emotional and personal needs. You just don't like that their form of taking responsibility doesn't involve self-hatred and punishment because what you actually want isn't accountability. It's penance. You want people to suffer for doing something that makes you uncomfortable, and that says far more about you than it does about them. You being grossed out by cheaters spreading STIs all over the community, that just shows your character, okay? Because a graceful, dignified woman would think that cheating is cool. At the end of the day, infidelity isn't about hurting people. It's about pursuing something real, something fulfilling, something that makes a person feel alive. If that offends you, maybe it's time to stop pretending that your outrage is about ethics and admit that it's about control. And I know exactly what kind of people hold views like yours because I've seen them. Can we just pause for a second here? Isn't tricking someone into staying in a marriage with you so that you can retain the benefits of access to the children, the finances, and potentially even all of the domestic labor that comes with the person that you're just actively willy-nilly cheating on? Isn't that a form of control? Because the only reason you're not leaving them is so that you can control the finances, the family, the home, the assets, where you admit that the marriage is already in disarray, but instead of working on it and fixing it, you're going around behind their back and lying so that you can maintain control. Isn't that maintaining control? What are you talking about? They're not trying to control you. They're just trying to get you to maintain the boundaries that you both fucking agreed on. And I know exactly what kind of people hold views like yours because I've seen them. I've had people in the comment section of this very video express a disturbed, fascistic worldview to me, arguing that violence is a justified response to infidelity. We'll get to that, by the way. There are a few people who are like, why would you encourage affairs when affairs often end up in murder? For someone who's so against black and white thinking and jumping to conclusions and drawing assumptions, like assuming that someone advocates for the murder of a cheater just because they point out the fact that murder is regularly dropped to second, third, even like manslaughter when an affair is discovered because people acknowledge that you are no longer even in your right mind when you find out about it, happens a lot, is not the same as saying it's justified. It's just that we've all seen 48 Hours. We've all seen women who kill. And it's frequently people who found out that they're get cheating on and then engage in a very volatile form of reactive abuse. They completely lose their right state of mind and act in a way that is extremely outside of their character because of the trauma and PTSD that is affecting them. Like, it's not a justification, but people are pointing out, like, this is dangerous, which you should also be pointing out. Like, how can you claim to care about all of these cheaters if you're not, like, warning them that they're in danger by doing so? It's not victim blaming to warn a person, like, hey, if you cheat on someone you promise not to cheat on, they might react in a way that is harmful. It's just true. What do you mean? that ethics is just an appeal to force, that people don't learn until their boundaries are enforced through fists. I've seen people laugh with each other as they gleefully talk about tormenting a man's ex-wife by sending her pictures of her late affair partner's tombstone every year on the date of his death. Imagine the kind of rot in someone's soul to think that's funny. And I've seen people in the r/the other woman subreddit gleefully delighting in the ways that they have tormented their married man's spouse. Chelsea, was it not you gleefully delighting in the torment that was caused to your husband's ex-wife of over 10 years ago? Rules for thee, but not for me. And yet, on the other hand, I've been called an angel on earth by a woman who is in an affair, a woman who is lying to her affair partner about being single. She carried guilt and pain, yet she had kindness in her heart. Kindness I have never seen from the people who are rabidly anti-infidelity. I like this cheater because she called me an angel, and you guys don't like me, so that means you're the problem, actually. So who am I going to sympathize with? The people who want to inflict suffering in the name of moral purity, or the ones who struggle, love, and seek comfort in a world that doesn't always grant them happiness? I know what side I stand on, and all of this, all of it, is proof enough that the obsession with hating infidelity doesn't make you morally righteous. It makes you ontologically evil. This bitch, you're all just morally grandstanding. And by the way, if you hate cheating, you're evil. Wow, okay. That was quite the turn. Calling cheaters cheaters is emotional violence, and hating the act of cheating is ontologically evil. Damn, we're all getting so fucking gaslit. We are getting gaslit into the absolute shadow realm on this one. Responding to a comment saying, I say shame is a good thing. It generally makes some people not repeat their mistakes. I say some people. Guess who's in there? Scrunchy says, shame is not a useful or constructive tool. In another response to someone saying, forgiveness is not for the person who does the wrong. It's for the person who got hurt to move on from the trauma and live their life without the burden. To which Scrunchy responds, your take isn't just wrong, it's downright stupid. You're acting like forgiveness is some kind of self-help hack for the victim to move on, rather than what it actually is, a meaningful, mutual process that involves understanding and empathy. Forgiveness is not a passive act that exists just to soothe the person who feels wronged. It's an active choice that requires letting go of resentment and acknowledging the humanity of the person who supposedly hurt them. But here you are, reducing it to some narcissistic self-care mantra that conveniently absolves people of the responsibility to actually understand those they claim have wronged them. That's not forgiveness. That's just emotional selfishness dressed up as wisdom. This person, who's not Chelsea, is literally pissed just because this person used the word forgiveness is not for the person who does the wrong. She's pissed that they consider that this person is calling cheating doing something wrong. And so they're like, gross. That is so gross that you really think that someone cheating on you did something wrong, when actually you're the one in the wrong because you never even took the time to ask them why they cheated on you. Like, you didn't even try to understand why they did it. My question is, why does it matter why they cheated on a person if that cheating is clearly not bringing the marriage together? Like, the marriage is over. You're saying it yourself. People only cheat if the marriage was already dead or on its way out. So what obligation does the betrayed spouse owe their wayward partner for not caring why they cheated. It doesn't matter why they cheated. They don't owe that to their partner, because them knowing why they did cheat isn't going to bring them closer together. It's not really going to improve their co-parenting relationship if they had one. Like, it's really not going to help. So really the best thing they can do is just choose forgiveness in their heart so that they can move past it. But you're mad at them for not forgiving the cheater? They don't have to. What do you mean? And let's be real, the whole framing of trauma here is ridiculous. It's ridiculous for people who get cheated on to think that they went through trauma. Oh my God, stop. Trauma is for people in affairs. People who are the side pieces and cheating men. That's who trauma is for. You betrayed spouses don't just get to co-opt and cosplay as traumatized victims. That's for me. Infidelity isn't some act of war or physical violence. It's a personal decision that reflects individual needs, desires, and circumstances. Again, though, it actually is. Like, it actually is. I have said this before, but cheating is a form of sexual assault. When you go running around getting all kinds of other ladies' kitty juice all over your schlong, and then you mix and mingle all those different fluids together in a sexual cesspool by sleeping with multiple people who are not aware of each other's existence and do not consent to additional existences of sexual fluids to be spread around, and you start actively spreading STIs, that is sexual assault. You could argue, well, what about a spouse who's cheating and not sleeping with the betrayed spouse because they have a dead bedroom? Maybe you could make that argument. In those cases, maybe it's not sexual assault, but in cases where a married man is sleeping with multiple women at once, which is typically the case, 9 times out of 10, a man who is cheating on his wife is still trying to sleep with her. The mistresses don't like hearing that. Ooh, they're gonna get mad about that one, but it's true. Okay, so most of these men and most of these women who are still sleeping with their spouse while entertaining side pieces are committing sexual assault. Straight up, okay? Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that part. Don't worry. I have your response too, Kristen. I got you. Oh my God. If someone feels traumatized by their partner seeking love, connection, or fulfillment outside of an arbitrarily monogamous agreement, an agreement those two people agreed on, that's a them problem. Their feelings aren't an indictment of the person who had the affair. They're just a reflection of their own possessiveness and inability to process emotions without falling into self-pity. If you actually understood forgiveness, you'd know it's not about playing the victim and moving on with an unchallenged sense of moral superiority. It's about realizing that maybe, just maybe, you were never entitled to control someone else's heart or body in the first place. Dude, I'm just gonna like walk up into Chelsea's house and just start taking her stuff. And when she's like, what are you doing? I'm gonna be like, ew, so narcissistic of you to feel like you're entitled to these things. Like, what a gross sense of ownership for you to think that this is your couch or your TV to exclusively have in your home. You're like, what are you, trying to be some type of victim or something? Anyway, I'm just gonna take this TV now. By her own logic, I should be allowed to do that. Because what is this arbitrary system of like possession and sovereignty? Like, it brings me joy to go into your home and take all of your valuables. Like, it's my journey of self-discovery. Oh man. So this is actually one of our followers here, a common member of the chat, Tewodros, came in, and speaking of his own experience with infidelity, this person basically just gives it to him and just shits all over him and says that it's basically his fault for cheating. Oh man. But now we get to the comment of this person insisting they're not Chelsea. They say, first of all, no, I'm not Chelsea, but it's telling that you think the only reason someone would challenge your perspective is if they were personally involved. That alone shows how little you've actually thought about this topic beyond your own biases. Now, let's address your comment. Your entire argument is built on projecting insecurity onto Chelsea, rather than engaging with what she actually said. The idea that her happiness is predicated on not being alone is nothing more than an assumption. We're not allowed to make assumptions. Only Scrunchy Howard 8400 is allowed to make assumptions based on your own perception of relationships. Every human relationship is built on connection, okay? That's just being human. And let's be honest, your entire take reeks of projection. Not like the projection this person did earlier, where they just assumed the girl who overheard her and witnessed her dad leaving her mom abruptly for his mistress, definitely not like the projection they put on there that the mom must be alienating the daughter and forcing her to hate the dad. Not like that projection. You're so eager to paint her as desperate and afraid of not being picked because that's how you want to see her. It's easier for you to believe that the other woman is clinging to scraps than to acknowledge that many affair partners are chosen over and over again, even if it's in secret, for years. Not because they're desperate, but because they bring something meaningful to their partner's life. And let's be real, if Chelsea was terrified of losing him, she wouldn't be speaking openly about her experience. That's not fear, that's self-acceptance. Meanwhile, your comment is nothing but a flimsy attempt at an insult that says more about your own issues than hers. It's very interesting that this person is like, we really don't have the ability to speak on behalf of others. Like, we really need to like look at the nuance, and we can't just like project our own experiences. And yet they feel extremely confident about speaking on what Chelsea is or isn't afraid of. I would never feel so confident talking about some stranger on the internet and being like, why would you think that they're afraid? They're not afraid of that. They're not afraid. What do you mean? This is becoming a very deeply personal defense. I mean, it has been since the first 24 paragraphs, but this last sentence is where it gets really Arias-y. You remember how Arias hated people diagnosing from their armchairs and hated people using the word narcissist? So before you go diagnosing strangers with your armchair psychology, maybe take a moment to ask yourself why you're so emotionally invested in seeing her as pathetic. Because it sounds like the real cope here is yours. I got him. Got you. Oh my God. And let us not forget either the recent comment that she made on one of her new videos where someone makes an integrated reference and Chelsea responds. Actual Chelsea, her profile picture from the account goes, I don't know what that means. My team has told me I don't need to worry about it. Yeah. Okay, that's a convenient response. Like, she's literally so delusional that she honestly believes that that response was going to nail in the coffin. See, I'm not Arias. That's not actually me. Again, these narcissists cannot help but Streisand effect the shit out of themselves, dude. Scrunchy Howard also gets mad when Damn Cat makes a lot of assumptions. How dare you? Okay. Oh God, there's one that I really want to get to wrap this up because I really can't read all of this. Hold on. Let me blitzkrieg through a few of these. Here we go. We have to respond to this one. Okay. Where is it? God, where is the part where she relates it to this? Is it here or is it here? Hold on, give me just a second. I'm looking at the time and I do gotta start wrapping it up. I hope it's not in one of these ones. Dude, where is the one? Because I see... Okay. Hold on. Yeah, I love the two that she's like, don't make assumptions. And then she's like, what, were you cheated on? Did your parents fall apart? Marriage fall apart due to an affair? Like, but we can't make assumptions. God, where is the one that I'm looking for? The last couple didn't load. So now I'm like, where are we here? Let me see if I can find them. Give me just a second. Yeah, why aren't these loading? This is annoying. Hold up. I promise I can find them. Where is it? God, there's one that I have to read to you guys. Okay, we have these two. Why is this one not loading all of a sudden? Okay. I will find it. I'm so sorry. Give me a moment. All right. Minor pause as I read through these to try and get you guys the one that I really want. Where is it? Back. Okay. It's where she's comparing. Here it is. Okay. I have it. Let me pull this up. Okay. I just have to give you guys a window here. Hold up. Window capture device. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't loading in my presentation, but this one is like one of the craziest ones of all time, okay? And Kristen responds to this one. It's really great. Okay. This says, if it were really that simple, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the fact that so many people have affairs, even when they deeply love their partners, proves that reality is far more complex than the moralistic fairy tale you're pushing. You say, if you don't want to be with that person anymore, just break up. But here's the thing. Many people do want to stay with their partners. They just also need something more, something different. Doesn't mean they want to throw everything away. It just means that the human connection is nuanced, and the rigid black and white thinking you're clinging to doesn't reflect how real relationships work. Infidelity is a valid form of love and a valid way to navigate a relationship. If you're motivated to cheat because you have a deep-seated need for love, affection, or fulfillment that your marriage isn't providing, your needs are valid. And if you choose to keep that affair a secret, that's valid too, because some truths cause more harm than good, and not every act of secrecy is an act of betrayal, except for the ones that are. You might think this is a bold claim, but let's put it into perspective. Imagine living in the 19th century America and believing that all men are created equal. If you were truly committed to that belief, you might hide escaped slaves in your cellar and lie to the authorities about it. Was that deception? Yes. Was it morally wrong? Absolutely not, because moral absolutism, the idea that lying is always wrong or that secrecy always equates betrayal, fails to account for real human experience. Y'all, this bitch literally just said, I'm not a cheater. I'm basically Harriet Tubman. You know, you guys really want to talk a lot of shit about cheating, but cheating is basically the same exact thing as getting slaves out of slavery. Having an affair, the Underground Railroad, the same act of incredible courage and historic change that the world needs to see more of. This is like literally, though, one of the most unhinged things I have ever read in my entire life. I was floored by that one. What? And yeah, the Kristen goes ahead and responds to this one. Let me go ahead and pull up her response because it's beautiful. Kristen says, so according to you, infidelity is not betrayal. It's just a valid form of love. Secrecy is not deception. It's just protecting people from the truth. And lying, oh, that's just a noble act of self-preservation. Got it. But wait, there's more. You really went for it on this one. You compare cheating on your spouse to hiding escaped slaves like you're some underground railroad freedom fire. Because nothing screams brave and heroic like sneaking around on your partner while pretending to be devoted. Seriously, the mental gymnastics route deserves an Olympic medal. You don't sound enlightened. You sound like a selfish, morally bankrupt coward who wants to cheat without consequences. If betrayal is your definition of love, then maybe love isn't for you. And this is why we remain Kristen's Army, which, by the way, again, link to her GoFundMe so that we can help destroy trash like this. Available down below. It is in the description. It should be on YouTube anyway. If you have trouble finding it, if you Google Chelsea Smallwood GoFundMe, it'll come right up. That's also your best bet at being able to read through the entire lawsuit yourself so that you can check it out, form your own opinion. All right. But damn, yep, this is why we remain strongly and steadfastly on the side of Miss Kristen Jacobs, because good Lord, these absolutely dumb as rocks side pieces genuinely think that being a side piece is the equivalent to literally being Harriet Tubman. I cannot. I can't. Now, if you guys want to read the rest of the Scrunchy Howard messages that I compiled, I'm going to be posting them on screen here. I'll even like push myself a little bit out of the way. So if you guys want to stop, pause, read them. Here's another one where she's like, oh, classic, you must be the person in the video argument because no one could possibly have a different perspective. I mean, that's exactly what Chelsea would say, but you know, more fighting. But I mean, it's like, okay, apparently these don't want to load anymore. Not sure why, but I can tell you, excuse me, I compiled at least 26 slides of long paragraph responses left by this individual that went on for hours and hours, to the point where even minutes before I went live, they were still commenting, to the point that I'd even commented back saying, Chelsea, go to bed. You've been up for 24 hours commenting on here. Like, go get your kids off the iPads or something. What are you doing? Again, maybe it's not Chelsea, but if it is not Chelsea, it is a person who would like to wear Chelsea as a skin suit. So that is where we are today with Cheating Chelsea and the lawsuit drama. Chelsea continues to run her affair coaching business, insisting that she is doing something good and noble and just for the world, and definitely is not spending hours and hours and hours on alt accounts and comment sections ferociously defending herself. No, that's not what Chelsea is doing. As for the lawsuit, we gotta kind of wait to find out when the trial dates will be, or wait to find out if Chelsea's lawyers actually managed to convince her that settling would probably be a much smarter idea than literally blitzkrieging through these funds because, as I mentioned, Chelsea married a wealthy man. The home that was listed throughout these legal filings appears to be listed for like well over $1 million in a pretty bougie area of California, right? But I mean, even for a person with millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, even on lawsuits, it's still extremely expensive. And again, this is just my personal speculation, my personal guess and opinion, but like, Stan cannot be thrilled about this. There is no shot, especially because she has posted videos where Stan is like, what is this, a business or a charity project? Like, kind of indicating this. Stan is not really impressed by the lack of profit that this alleged business is generating. Nor am I sure Stan loves the fact that his wife constantly talks about their infidelity, because I've seen in videos, he's like, Jesus, like, you're posting all about our infidelity online, but you can't do this. Like, he doesn't seem to be majorly impressed with any of this. So I can't imagine that this dude is super impressed with his wife just blowing through his money to waste away on this weird little cheater project, as well as frivolous lawsuits trying to sue her own victims in a situation that she herself created with no evidence that her victim, a betrayed spouse, has all to do with any issues she's having of her members being exposed. Okay? I can't imagine, but what I do know is that if indeed Chelsea is behind the Arias account, which we're all heavily leaning there, and if indeed Chelsea is now behind the Scrunchy Howard account, which would highly doubt that she is not, then what we are looking at is a person who is such a delusional narcissist that she genuinely will always believe that she is in the right. No matter how much harm she causes, no matter how unsuccessful her business remains, no matter how valid everyone is for criticizing the ever-living shit out of her problematic, disgusting slop content, she, I truly believe, is going to go full steam ahead with this lawsuit, hoping to financially ruin Kristen. But moreover, I don't even think that Kristen matters to her. I think it could have been anybody. If she had the opportunity to sue anybody and have it become something that becomes a well-known case that could offer her publicity, she would have done it. She doesn't actually care if Kristen is or isn't the person behind her entire website getting doxxed and exposed by people in a community where it's well known that she's hated. In a world where the Ashley Madison leak already happened. So a precedent of anonymous hackers who want to take down cheating communities has already long been set. Kristen surely had nothing to do with the Ashley Madison leak. So we know that there are highly professional actors, or not actors, but I guess actors to get into the community, hackers already doing this stuff. I don't think Chelsea cares at all whether she can or can't prove Kristen's, but I also think that she's so delusional that she thinks that just saying she did it is enough proof. I think that she believes that she's going to be able to concoct enough of a like hippy-dippy weirdo word salad of why she's actually the innocent baby victim in all of this, enough to convince not only a judge but an entire jury that Kristen is really the problem, and she and her other woman community are the victims, and needlessly so. I will tell you though, I don't have an extensive knowledge of legal cases, right? I didn't study law. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even regularly watch trials like this. But with everything that I've seen so far, and this is not me trying to say, Kristen's got it in the bag, no need to donate to the GoFundMe anymore. By all means, we have to continue funding Kristen because Chelsea is going to try to basically play a game of financial chicken with Kristen. Her whole goal, in my opinion, has been to intimidate the shit out of betrayed spouses in general, to send a clear message, you don't mess with me, okay? So Kristen needs the funds, but as long as she can continue to fund this legal battle and fight against Chelsea, once it goes to trial, I really think Kristen's gonna win. If we can just get Kristen through the trial, I anticipate a settlement for Kristen in the potential hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not over $1 million, potentially, depending on how big this gets, because Kristen has all of the evidence. And Chelsea really has nothing. In fact, there is so much burden of proof on Chelsea to prove that Kristen 100% joined her community with nothing but the intention of sabotaging her business. But the problem with that argument is that Chelsea herself admits that she repeated text messages that Kristen sent. She herself admits that she used Kristen's story for content within her community. She admits that Kristen joined. She admits that Olivia is also in the community. She acknowledges that the entire affair happened. And so, with everybody agreeing that Kristen had more than reasonable motives for joining the community, it's gonna be really hard for her to prove, oh, well, she was just trying to destroy my business. Why? It has nothing to do with the fact that you were reading her personal, deepest, darkest text messages on the world's most popular social media platform and profiting off of it? You don't think that that's what she was curious about? That's where it all really falls apart here, is there's every argument that Kristen had every right to be in there and see what the was going on and being posted about her. And Chelsea doesn't seem to have very much arguments at all that Kristen did not have a right to be there, or that her sole motivating factor was to damage the business. Because there's not even any proof that Kristen did that. Again, more could potentially come out in discovery, but I will be shocked and in awe, quite frankly. Oh man. I'm like almost at a loss for words with how to fully wrap this up. All I knew was that this was not going to fit into a short. I've been trying to give you guys like the biggest updates with this case as quickly and consolidated as I possibly can, but the unhinged schizo behavior of either Chelsea herself and or her following needed to be even more deeply covered, because the harm that this woman is causing, the fact that we're literally out here comparing cheating to freeing slaves. I know that these people just tried to make like an entire novel about why it's wrong to shame people, but the only thing that I can think of is like, these people just need to be shamed, dog. That's it. We gotta shame these people. And quite frankly, this business needs to be absolutely spanked silly in the court of law. This needs to sell her house. I'm just gonna say that. Sell your house, pay Kristen. That's what needs to happen at this point, okay? Because do a lot of people out there in the middle of affairs need someone to talk to about all of the issues they're facing, need a professional resource even to navigate through all of the complexities? Yeah, I agree. Should that person be Chelsea? Absolutely not. Under no circumstances, dude. She is irresponsible. She's reckless. She's antagonistic. She has no ability to keep these people safe whatsoever. In her Rob Bell podcast, she talks a little bit about some mysterious other creator who's been covering her a lot and how my name is not even allowed to be spoken in her community, or her name, whoever this creator's is, right? I guess I'm assuming it's me. Maybe there's another creator she's referring to, but considering I'm the one with the cease and desist, I highly doubt it. But she's talking about how, because the community felt so threatened, she had to change everyone's names to like an alias. And I thought, like, that's actually very smart. Finally, she's doing something to actually protect her clients, which is forcing them basically to use nicknames and not allowing them to post anything personal. That's what should have been happening from the beginning, is you should never be posting images or identifying information at all about people who are associated with your affair at all, who are not consenting to being there. It's really diabolical and entitled, quite frankly, to think that you're allowed to just have these secret communities where you bully people and they're not allowed to do anything about it. Where you can just post pictures of people's kids and make fun of their appearance and make fun of the shit that they're going through, and they're the bad guys if they tell people you're doing it. Be so for real. But here's, going into it though, she couldn't even stick with that. She didn't even stick with the nicknames thing and the not posting personal identifying information thing. Why? Well, because she was worried she was going to lose money. Because she says in the podcast that one of her clients was like, oh, I really relied on this community and now you took away our ability to sell ourselves out and post pictures of whatever we want. So I don't know, I might leave, which scared Chelsea because obviously she's not very freaking successful in any way at all and is desperately reliant on any super gullible, insecure, self-hating side piece to pay up to receive pats on the back from her that she'll do just about anything. So she goes, well, you know what? Maybe it's not my responsibility to protect these people. I mean, it's their journey. They should be allowed to tell on themselves if they want. So apparently, I guess she just recently removed the nicknames thing and is just letting people just post absolutely whatever they want to post in there once again. So obviously, if you are not a cheater, I think we can all agree this is deplorable slop led by an absolute degenerate mess who does nothing but enable more degeneracy within society and has caused far more harm than she has ever healed. But if you are a cheater, if you are a person involved in an affair and you are looking for a safe space, this is not it. You will not be safe here. Okay? Because Chelsea has put a massive target on all of your backs. And whether that's victim blaming, whether that's fair or not, that her actions are forcing everybody associated with her to be put under a deep level of scrutiny. Doesn't matter if it's fair or not. It's what's happening. If you associate yourself with Chelsea in today's day and age, if you fall for her bait on Instagram where she goes, comment, connect if you want to learn more about my community, you better bet your sweet ass that if you do indeed publicly comment, connect on her safe healing community, we're gonna find your husband and send him the screenshot. Because maybe maybe this case will result in some kind of tortious interference charge. Maybe it will be found that once you've signed the contract, you're really not allowed to screenshot or tell people who these other people are in the community and the disgusting, atrocious things that they're doing. But as long as everything's public facing, there is nothing illegal about me finding out who your clientele is based on how they publicly identify and interact with your public posts, finding their husbands and sending them the screenshots. You might find it morally reprehensible that I would dare tattle on someone who's simply just trying to find themselves. But the law's not gonna do a damn thing about it. You will not be able to sue me. Nope. You're just gonna have to figure out a smarter way to make your entire personality about affairs, I guess. But as long as Chelsea continues this business, she's going to hurt a lot of people. She's going to hurt betrayed spouses by continuing to antagonize and rage bait them. She's going to continue to harm mistresses who are not safe under her umbrella. And Chelsea's not doing anything to make them any more safe. Okay? As long as this business exists, harm will be done. Okay? So this lawsuit and all of us supporting Kristen in this lawsuit is our best bet at destroying what is, in my opinion, one of the most evil, delusional, narcissistic communities that exists. It is borderline a cult, all right? It is a whole ass cheating cult. And if there's one thing I know about cults, it's that they need to be squashed out. So, as we wrap up the stream, please don't forget to like the video so that it can get sent out into the algorithm and it can be seen by more and more people who need to know about this and need to know that it's time to destroy the other woman and the wife, quite frankly. All right? I'm under no contract at all to protect your business. I have every freedom of speech in this world to tell people that your business is absolute garbage, harmful, problematic trash. And you can try to bully people around into shutting up. You can try to email me your pathetic little cease and desist where you try to hold me to some contract I never signed. But I'm not shutting up. And it's working. We're all watching your numbers go down. We're watching you have to limit the comments because everybody hates you. Now, the last thing to watch is for you to get your cheeks clapped in court by Kristen and her entire army. And when you do, I will be there, sitting giddily, watching the court absolutely order a heinous fine and making you sell your house, quite frankly. It is the future that we look forward to. And after that, I have no doubt that she will continue to flounder and desperately try to make this business happen. But after the lawsuit, she will lose all relevance and die out. People will get tired of covering her. Her business will continue to fail. She will continue to disappoint and devastate anyone who comes near her. It is her radioactive energy, as she is simply a cancerous lump on the teat of society. So yeah, like the stream, make sure to leave your comments, feel free to share it, subscribe if you're not already. We are going live again tomorrow with something a lot more lighthearted, and comments. The comments box will be back up. But most importantly, get on down to Kristen's GoFundMe. Make sure you throw a few bucks her way. Tell your friends who also hate cheaters to throw a few bucks Kristen's way. But I gotta start getting out of here, getting my kid going and actually being a good parent, something that these home-wrecking idiots have literally no idea anything about that world. And I will see you guys next time.